core hasn't he been returned to us yet? Su Chen patted Xing Ming's little head and chuckled. Let him keep it for now. He's old, and it's just a little something he cares about. Let him enjoy it. He'll return it to you eventually. Humph, Xing Ming pouted. At his age, can't he make one himself? It's obvious he's just a big fool like me. Su Chen was speechless. It was the first time he had seen someone insult both themselves and others at the same time. Truly, that's Xing Ming for you. After the official verification, the normal awards ceremony followed. Xing Ming, holding the trophy, walked up to the champion's podium behind Su Chen. Cheers erupted from the audience. Various support posters surged in the stands like waves. Unknowingly, they had so many supporters. Su Chen couldn't help but feel a bit emotional. Indeed, overcoming doubts is the secret to gaining fans. However, the VIP seats of the Black Knight voice group were eerily silent, not because there were no people, but because they were intimidated into silence by the low pressure radiating from Qin Xian. Qin Xian didn't look at Su Chen on the podium, nor did she pay attention to Ayano, who had lost the match. She was just fixated on James, who was surrounded by reporters and club agents, looking quite pleased. James. She gritted her teeth and thought, just you wait. Thank you, brothers, for the great support. It's overwhelming and warm. QAQ Chapter 230. Post-race interview. The results of the second provincial qualifying round in the second half of the year for the Huazhong region are freshly released. With 4 competitors breaking the race record, the champion is unexpected. The modification industry is in shock. The era of functional modifications from adjustable wings to nitrogen acceleration is about to arrive. Richard, the deputy chief of the Lionheart modification team in the European region, joins the Knight's Voice team. The Nighthoof team has faced defeats in 2 consecutive qualifying rounds. Will they be adjusted? Su Chen and Xing Ming are still at the venue, while various news is already swirling outside. It can only be said that the reporters are indeed quick. Less than half an hour after the competition ended, all kinds of rumors have already occupied the front page. A reporter captured the scene of Qin Xian, the president of Knight's Voice, leaving. This group president, an S-class driver, looked displeased. Usually, he would smile and answer a few questions when encountering reporters. Today, he showed no intention of stopping and even had his bodyguards roughly chase away reporters trying to approach for interviews. On the other hand, Ayano accepted an interview from reporters, looking somewhat haggard. Although he surpassed the record of the T2 team captain of Knight's Voice in the city race at Star Building, he still couldn't feel happy. Qin Xian's final task was not completed. He would definitely face consequences upon returning. Mr. Ayano, what are your thoughts on the champion of this competition, Mr. Su Chen? The reporter's questions are always sharp. Ayano paused for a moment, smiled wryly, and said, Su Chen is a very strong competitor. In both provincial qualifying rounds, I couldn't figure out his details. However, in future competitions, I will quickly improve my strength and demonstrate the spirit of the Nighthoof team. Oh, one more question. It is said that after the race, the first thing you did was go to the restroom. Was it the chili sauce that caused you distress? Ayano, can we change to another question? No, we cannot. Get lost. Mr. Su Che, what are your thoughts on finishing in the top 3 in this competition? Boo-hoo. This is my first time standing on such a big stage since I debuted, starting from the city championship, achieving such a good result. Su Che stood beside the smiling Feng He, slightly shorter than him. At this moment, being embraced by Feng He made him look like a little brother relying on his older sister. I am grateful to Master James and Coach Kino for giving me this opportunity. Without their help, it would have been hard for me to achieve what I have today. Su Che bowed to the camera. Although James and Kino had already left the venue, they would definitely see and hear his gratitude in the news. 3rd place. Although not the champion, without the golden trophy, and not receiving the highest competition points, I have already improved so much compared to my past self. At this point, Su Lin wouldn't consider replacing Feng He, right? Are you referring to Mr. James? The reporter looked surprised. Did Mr. James provide you with help? Who is Coach Kino? Su Che, eager to boost the fame of James and Kino, explained in detail. My modification core is provided by Master James, including the solidified core during Feng He's promotion and the adjustable rear wing installed for this competition, all masterpieces of Master James. As for Coach Kino, I wonder if you've heard of the Golden Razor? The reporters were confused, questioning if there was also a golden kitchen knife. Seeing their expressions, Su Che realized they were unaware of events from a decade ago, or had never encountered them. He smiled mysteriously. Aren't you in the media? Go back and check the news from 10 years ago, and you'll know who the Golden Razor is. He is an excellent coach with a unique understanding of driving techniques. If it weren't for his pre-race training, even with the same frequency as Feng He, I wouldn't have been able to overtake Yi Guanlan and the Siren. At this point, Su Che felt a twinge of fear. The pressure he faced in this race was immense. If it were his former self, facing the slippery Siren, he could only watch helplessly, with no hope of overtaking. Huh. You're talking about Su Chen. Haha. Su Chen trains hard every day at the club. Achieving such results is completely expected. In front of the cameras, Yu Ming, who only placed fifth, confidently talked while holding on to Lu Yao. As a senior in the club, I have to pave the way for the juniors. I didn't even exert myself in this race. I believe you all can see that. The reporters exchanged glances, and one daringly asked, "So you think Su Chen's abilities are not as good as yours?" Yu Ming's smile froze, and he replied lightly, "He is a bit weaker, just a little. Sigh. I'm older than him and have long passed my peak. Many techniques are things I taught him. Isn't he supposed to perform better?" Zhu Ying could no longer hold back. She tried to maintain a polite smile in front of the camera. "Sorry, my master isn't feeling well." As she spoke, her hand quietly rested on Yu Ming's waist. "Not feeling well? Huh, I didn't ya?" Yu Ming's scream was as if a pig were being slaughtered, and he was soon dragged away by the expressionless Zhu Ying. The reporters exchanged glances, faithfully capturing the scene of Yu Ming being taken away. Reality is harsh. The spotlight often only shines on the top 3 winners. Even if other competitors perform brilliantly, their brilliance will ultimately be overshadowed. Yi Guanlan stood with the siren under the championship statue of the Starry Building's urban race, lost in thought, and finally sighed. He left the venue somewhat dejected, getting into a business vehicle that had long been parked outside the Starry Building. "Boss, I failed." Yi Guanlan lowered his head, not daring to meet the woman in front of him. He could feel a gaze upon him. The scent of a lady's cigarette lingered at his nose, not overpowering, reminiscent of mint. "Didn't you break the record? That was our requirement from the beginning." The woman spoke in a calm tone, showing no signs of anger, which slightly relieved Yi Guanlan. "Breaking records is a requirement from the club and you, but it's not my personal expectation." He tightened his grip on the cool hand of the siren beside him, his tone resolute. "My goal has always been the championship. Winning a provincial qualifying tournament is my ticket to join the Zhouguang team. I just promised you before that if I can't achieve it, I wouldn't have the face to join Zhouguang, nor do I feel qualified to lead the Zhouguang team into the provincial competition." Chapter 231. The Crisis of Northern Wolf T2. The woman stared at Yi Guanlan in silence for a moment and said lightly, "So, do you agree to let the modification team intervene in the siren's modification plan?" "No." Yi Guanlan shook his head. "I still believe my approach is correct. It just needs some adjustments. I can now handle all the corners almost perfectly, but in the current level of competition, the limits of cornering are already set. To continue improving the performance of both myself and the siren, it's not just about my training. The siren's speed and burst must also keep up. Under the premise that my siren and I can handle corners perfectly, sacrificing some cornering performance to enhance peak speed is key to breaking through." The car fell silent. The woman did not speak. Yi Guanlan also remained quiet. The siren had once said that she was the mechanic of the Storm Star emblem, enjoying the breeze in every corner. In those corners filled with peril for countless mechanics, she navigated with ease, like an elegant butterfly. She loved the feeling of dancing on the edge of a blade, never getting hurt by the sharpness beneath her feet. According to his modification ideas, the siren would still be a pure Storm Star emblem mechanic, only stronger than before, transforming excessive cornering performance into speed and burst to achieve true balance. Not just a superficial one, was contrary to the mainstream modification trends of the Glory Star. He didn't know if the boss would agree, but he would try his best. After a while, the woman nodded. "You can proceed with your ideas. After all, you are the driver of the siren and have more synergy with her. So, are you planning to continue participating in the 3rd round of the provincial qualifiers?" "Yes." Yi Guanlan clenched his fists. "This time, I will definitely win the championship." "But the siren's condition." The woman hesitated to speak. "My condition is fine." The siren interjected, "Although I'm not at my peak, I can still compete in the next race without much impact." "All right, in that case, I wish you both victory in the next race." The woman nodded slightly, not saying more. Yi Guanlan and the siren were already the newly appointed captain of the Zhouguang team. But Yi Guanlan wanted to prove himself and establish authority within the team to lead Zhouguang better in the future. Team members striving for progress was naturally a good thing for the boss. However, the woman looked at her phone, where a picture of a couple holding trophies on the championship podium appeared, her expression serious. One time for the adjustable rear wing, one time for the nitrous boost. The core innovations in the modifications have consecutively thwarted the team leader Ayano of the Nighthoof team and the pre-designated leader of the Zhouguang team, Yi Guanlan. Setting aside who created these terrifyingly functional modification cores, they still haven't figured out Su Chen's background and have yet to keep up with his pace. What will they do when he presents an even more revolutionary modification core in the next competition? In the 3rd provincial preliminary competition, can Yi Guanlan and the Sea Witch truly win the championship? It would be a shame if, in the end, Yi Guanlan loses her confidence, and Zhouguang has no face to participate. She is still waiting for Yi Guanlan to lead Zhouguang in the provincial competition. After the competition, Su Chen worked hard to lead Xingming and Queen out of the reporters' encirclement. All the questions from the reporters focused on the new nitrous acceleration modification core and his relationship with James. Suchin knew that the more he said, the easier it would be to expose himself, so he didn't answer any of the reporters' inquiries. It wasn't until he sat in Li Yin's car that Suchin finally breathed a sigh of relief. Phew. Safe now. Xingming sat to his left with the trophy, still holding the group photo of the three of them and grinning. Queen sat to the right, naturally fastening the seatbelts for the three of them. Li Yin glanced at the three in the back seat through the rearview mirror, a slight smile on her lips. Congratulations, Suchin. You've won the championship in this provincial preliminary competition again. Huang Shixuan is probably fuming, she said. In fact, Da Huang's strength is not bad, and he treats the machine girls quite well. Suchin replied sincerely. It's just that his vision isn't great. He didn't pick the right opponent. Li Yin paused for a moment, hesitating to speak, as if she had something difficult to say. Noticing her dilemma, Suchin smiled and said, Captain, this isn't like you. If you have something to say, just say it. Hearing this, Li Yin no longer held back and, feeling a bit shy, said, Suchin, are you and Master James very close? I heard from nowhere that you and James seem to be fellow disciples. Suchin nodded slightly at Li Yin's words. He had almost guessed what her request might be. You see, Suchin, Li Yin said carefully, weighing her words, after several competitions. Various clubs have already noticed the improvement that the adjustable rear wing modification core brings to the machine girls. The clubs will definitely invest all their resources to research the adjustable rear wing modification core. It's almost certain that this core is the work of Master James or his team. As the saying goes, a step ahead leads to success. I want to leverage your relationship with Master James to gain assistance with the adjustable rear wing modification core. Before other clubs have figured it out, let the Northern Wolves drivers use it first. What do you think? Li Yin felt a bit embarrassed to make such a request. But for the continuation of the Northern Wolves T2 team, she had to swallow her pride. Suchin's smile faded as he noted that Li Yin referred to the drivers of the Northern Wolves, not specifically the T2 drivers. In other words, even if the modification core for the adjustable tail wing is given to Li Yin, it will ultimately not end up with her or her team members. Instead, it will be contributed to the T1 team of the Northern Wolf Racing team. Has the higher-ups of the club pressured you? Suchin's sharp gaze made Li Yin feel uncomfortable, her grip on the steering wheel turning pale. Yes. She nodded and sighed. When you and Xingming were on the championship podium, the club's general manager called me. He was very tactful. But the implication was that you should coordinate with Master James to provide the adjustable tail wing modification core to the Northern Wolf T1 team. Otherwise, you would be expelled from the Northern Wolf Club. Of course, it wouldn't be provided for free. The club is willing to pay whatever is necessary. And they wouldn't let Master James suffer a loss. The general manager also intended to invite Master James to be the chief modification engineer for the Northern Wolf team. These words were quite amusing, and Li Yin felt herself blush. Expel me. Suchin seemed to have heard a ridiculous joke, laughing out loud. He had never openly acknowledged himself as the producer of the adjustable tail wing modification core. And today, using James as a shield essentially confirmed James's role as the producer. However, he truly didn't expect the upper management of the Northern Wolf Club to be so short-sighted and foolish. To take a step back, since he could gain James's assistance. He could be considered a friend of James, right? Did they think they could offend him and still please James? In the end, they were too accustomed to their capitalist positions and didn't regard their drivers as people at all. Did they really think he valued being a driver for the Northern Wolf team? He stayed in the Northern Wolf T2 team simply because he felt comfortable with friends like Li Yin, Yu Ming, and No Li. Without them, the Northern Wolf team meant nothing. He looked at the embarrassed Li Yin, narrowed his eyes, and a thought that had previously formed in his mind began to take root and flourish at this moment. Fueled by a hint of anger, he blurted out, Sister Yini, have you ever considered switching clubs? Chapter 232. I can't execute this order. Switching clubs. To be honest, the leap in this conversation was quite significant, to the point where Li Yin was momentarily taken aback and almost didn't react. After a while, she blankly said, I have considered retiring and switching clubs, but isn't that too troublesome? She was a nostalgic person, having stayed in one place for a long time. She was reluctant to go elsewhere, fearing she would lose everything familiar, bringing everyone from the Northern Wolf T2 team to switch clubs. Suchin had known Li Yin for a while and understood her nature. So he added, I think this club isn't treating you well either. They haven't provided you with any resources. Even the modifier No Li is essentially someone you brought in. What's the point of staying in such a club? Besides having the title of being part of the Northern Wolf team. Oh, and a nice-looking club racing suit. Especially the intimate homeware, it's really impressive. The back of the homeware has no fabric, allowing for a glimpse of the starry white back. Under the night light, the alluring lines of the waist and the small of the back are clearly visible, making it a uniquely perfect experience when embraced from behind. That outfit has now become a common sleepwear choice during the starry nights. Li Yini and Dong Xiong glanced at Su Chen's lewd smile and thumbs up, their expressions shifting. How did this topic go off track again? What you said seems to make sense. The Northern Wolves Club hasn't provided us with much support. But what other clubs can we join now? Li Yini sighed. The provincial competition has already entered the second round, and medium to large clubs have already selected their target teams for the provincial training, like Night Hoof from the Voice of the Night and the Star of Glory's Xiaoguang. These clubs can't possibly accept another training club, and small clubs can't afford a team like ours, plus no one is willing to go there. If we want to switch clubs, we need to find a second tier or above club that is willing to accept us. And it also must not have a training team for the provincial competition. There are no such clubs in the Hua region. We could go to the Euro region. But they are from the Hua region. They are Hua region drivers. What does it mean to go to the Euro region? The racing circles in the Hua region are in opposition to those in the Euro region and others. Training there is fine. But joining a club there would bring scorn upon us. Yini Jia, is there a possibility that we can start our own club? Su Chen said quietly, self-reliance. We. Li Yini pointed to herself, shaking her head with a smile. Xiao Su, starting a club is not that simple. It requires a lot of resources. Coaches, modification specialists, a financial chain, and connections are all indispensable. It's not enough to just have qualified drivers to pull together a makeshift team. Even if we manage to set it up, without funding, it won't last long. The Northern Wolves Club is still paying us salaries without cuts, and with New Ale helping out, we can manage on our own. Although compared to other clubs, our T2 looks a bit bleak, we can still make do. Su Chen remained silent. Li Yini glanced at the expressionless Su Chen and bit her lip. The general manager's request is indeed unreasonable. You are James's senior brother, but you are not James himself, nor his father. How can you influence the thoughts of James, an S-class modification master? You don't need to worry about being fired. I will talk to them for you. Implicitly, this means to drop the matter about the core modification of the adjustable rear wing. As the captain, she will help Su Chen sort everything out. However, Su Chen didn't think that way. His expression was not due to unhappiness, but because he was pondering over the conditions Li Yini mentioned. Indeed, a makeshift team won't last long, but what he creates may not necessarily be a makeshift team. As long as he can sell the core modification of the adjustable rear wing, funding will definitely not be an issue. Does James, as an S-class modification master, lack connections? In terms of resources regarding the modification core, he believes he is the best resource pool, right? Logistics has connections through James and sufficient funding. So whether it's the coaching staff or the medical team, they can be easily resolved. He already possesses all the conditions for self-sufficiency. What remains is to gain recognition in the provincial qualifiers and allow each team member to shine in the provincial competition, dominating the matches. At that point, will there be any concerns about the club's reputation? Indeed, establishing a club will inevitably face many obstacles. However, most of the barriers can be circumvented by him and James. Su Chen is not an impulsive person. He has seriously considered what Li Yini said, gradually analyzing and confirming his capability to support a club, rather than casually making a promise just to get the club started without caring about anything else. Now he is confident about it. Just as he was pondering this and preparing to discuss further with Li Yini, she received a phone call. In the quiet car, even without the speakerphone, the voice from the other end was clearly audible. Captain Li, have you completed the task we assigned to you? The headquarters places great importance on the core modifications of the adjustable tail wing. Since your team has connections, you need to make good use of them. Li Yini's expression cooled slightly, but she still tried to respond politely. Manager Wang, I have already discussed it with Su Chen. Su Chen and Master James are not close enough to assist you in obtaining the core modifications of the adjustable tail wing. This matter still needs you and the captain of T1 to talk to Master James. Before she could finish, she was abruptly interrupted. On the other end of the line, Manager Wang's voice rose sharply. Captain Li, what kind of attitude is this? The task assigned to you by the headquarters is a sign of trust in you. How can you casually shirk responsibility? What do you mean by not being close enough? Su Chen is his junior brother. Isn't that connection strong enough? Does it have to be that James is his biological father? Li Yini suppressed her anger, trying to keep her tone steady. Manager Wang, that's not how it works. A good relationship doesn't mean one can casually demand the other to provide core technology. Master James is an S-level modifier. What is wrong with his work being S-level? Does that mean he doesn't need to eat? Doesn't he need to make money? Manager Wang interrupted Li Yini again. His voice sharp. Just tell Su Chen that as long as this matter is resolved, we will focus on nurturing him. Does he not understand what he means to Master James? If Master James doesn't agree, then go plead with him. What is the point of having a relationship if it's not used? This is an order. Don't talk to me about irrelevant things. An order? Li Yini's voice turned cold. Manager Wang, Su Chen is my team member, not your slave. He has his own will and judgment, and I respect him. I cannot carry out this order. Don't forget your identity. Manager Wang's voice turned completely grim. You are the captain of Northern Wolf T2, and the club pays your salary. What you need to do is obey the club's arrangements. If you can't even handle this small matter, I think your time as captain is coming to an end. And Su-chun, don't think you're something special just because you won a preliminary championship. The club can support you, but can also put you on the bench. Without the club's resources, you're nothing. These words completely ignited the suppressed anger in Li Yini. She had put in so much effort for this team, struggling with a group of underestimated players. In the end, she was seen as insignificant by the higher-ups, unable to even receive basic respect. She suddenly slammed the brakes, bringing the car to a steady stop by the roadside, her voice trembling with anger. Manager Wang, don't forget that the Northern Wolves T2 is where it is today because of us, a group of nobody, fighting through one match after another. It wasn't handed to us by your headquarters. Supporting Su-chun? What resources has the club given him? A screw or a drop of nutrient solution? Putting him on the bench? Do you really think we can't survive without the Northern Wolves? Li Yini, you've gone too far. How dare you talk to me like that? Manager Wang shouted furiously on the other end. That's how I'm talking. What are you going to do about it? Li Yini had completely lost her composure, and the long-suppressed grievances and anger surged out. All you do is make empty promises, cut resources, act dead when there's nothing going on, and create trouble when needed. When you need results, you remember us, but if you can't get what you want, you threaten to bench us. I'll tell you, I'm done. If you push me too far, I really won't work for your pathetic club anymore. After saying that, she didn't give the other party a chance to yell back, forcefully pressing the hang-up button. Bang! The world instantly fell silent. The car was dead quiet. Only Li Yini's rapid breathing could be heard. Her chest heaved violently as she slapped the steering wheel hard, producing a harsh honking sound. Ugh, what a joke. She spat at the already black screen of her phone, her pretty face clouded with anger. Beside her, Dong Xiong held Li Yini's hand, trying to soothe her emotions. Even when driving a regular car, Li Yini wouldn't slap the steering wheel. This time, she was genuinely infuriated by Manager Wang's arrogance and unreasonable attitude. Su-chun listened to the entire phone call and had a rough idea of the situation. It was clear that the Northern Wolves headquarters had no way to contact James. This was normal. A second-tier club was just a pile of trash in James's eyes. The Northern Wolves club could only rely on him as a potential contact to connect with James. However, it seemed that Manager Wang had misunderstood the intentions of the Northern Wolves higher-ups, treating him with a commanding and arrogant attitude. Of course, even if Manager Wang spoke nicely, it wouldn't help. During his time as a youth driver for Northern Wolves T2, he had witnessed that aside from salaries, there were no resources at all. T2 was completely neglected, left to fend for itself. In his mind, such a club had long been sentenced to death. Su-chun, I'm sorry to have made you see such a joke. Li Yini rubbed her temples, forcing a smile on her face. You don't have to worry. I'll take care of this matter. Now Star Dream and Queen both have dual holy marks, right? During the break after the match, they could take the opportunity to challenge the secret realm. If they were lucky enough to obtain the Stellar Sacred Mark, it would significantly enhance their strength. The struggles and grievances of the Northern Wolf T2 were rarely exposed. Without resources, she created opportunities with her best friend. Lacking connections, she sought ways to attract investment. She always hoped that one day T2 could secure a top 3 finish in the provincial competition, which might bring them some recognition. However, a phone call from Manager Wang today shattered her dreams. To the headquarters, T2 was merely dispensable. If T2 achieved results, it would be credited to the club. If T2 failed, it would be just as well to disband. Did you really say that, Sister Yini? Su-chun asked suddenly. Li Yini paused, her hand frozen as she prepared to light a cigarette. Which statement are you referring to? Su-chun mimicked Li Yini's tone. I'm telling you, I'm done serving. If you provoke me, I might just quit this lousy club. Li Yini wondered, was my tone really that sarcastic? Of course, it was just in anger. Where would I go to eat if I left? But if I really got mad, I could just confront them. Su-chun silently observed Li Yini's face amidst the swirling smoke in the rearview mirror. The fatigue and helplessness in her eyes were unmistakable, and the veins on her forehead pulsed slightly, clearly still angry about the earlier situation. I want to tell you something, Su-chun said, retracting his gaze to look out the window. What is it? The core for the adjustable tail wing modification was done by me. Li Yini's hand, which was flicking ashes out the window, suddenly froze. The core for the adjustable tail wing modification was done by me, Su-chun repeated casually, as if discussing the weather. The nitrous acceleration modification core was also done by me. Li Yini tossed her cigarette aside and turned to look at Su-chun. Her brow furrowed. Su-chun, you're joking, right? I'm not joking. Su-chun met her gaze, his expression serious. He had considered this for a long time before deciding to tell her. In his past life, he had seen countless people, which gave him a keen eye for character. And he knew what kind of person Li Yini was and whether she was trustworthy. Her earlier conversation with Manager Wang further solidified his thoughts. Li Yini had a noble heart. How could he treat her with suspicion? Hiding things felt pointless. He decided to be straightforward. With James as a protective umbrella, He had nothing to fear. Both of these modification cores were created by me. Saying this, Su-chun casually took out a spare adjustable tail wing modification core. The light blue modification core spun on his fingertips and, in front of Li Yini, entered developer mode, emitting mechanical electronic sounds. Welcome, esteemed developer. Su-chun, core bound to machine girl. Unbound. Agreement signing status. Signed, signer Su-chun. Words can be casually spoken, but developer mode cannot be misused. There's no way to fake it. Li Yini looked at Su-chun with an increasingly incredulous expression, as if she were staring at a prehistoric giant. After a moment, she took a deep breath and then took out her phone, dialing the number she had just called. Su-chun furrowed his brows in confusion, silently watching as the call connected. What's up, Li Yini? Have you come to a decision? Made an agreement? It was Manager Wang's voice on the other end. Li Yini gestured for Su-chun to cover his ears. Then she gathered her energy, a fierce glint flashing in her eyes. Old bastard. Ay, damn it. In recent days, everyone's contributions had given the old goose a glimmer of hope. No matter what happens in the future, the old goose will persevere. QEQ Chapter 234. Who wants to leave? Who stays? The general manager of the Northern Wolf was hospitalized due to a ruptured eardrum. However, before being hospitalized, he reported Li Yini's arrogance and disrespect to the headquarters. In the Northern Wolf T2 office, the atmosphere was oppressive. Li Yini's phone vibrated wildly on the table. In the next second, she coldly turned it off. She looked up at the assembled team members, crossing her arms as she announced something. I'm preparing to withdraw from Northern Wolf T2. I wonder what your thoughts are. As soon as she said this, the previously cheerful Yu Ming stopped smiling. Huang Shixuan's face showed shock, his eyes wide open. The other two Northern Wolf T2 team members gaped at each other. Only Su-chun, standing at the side, remained calm, even yawning. Captain, you're not joking, are you? Yu Ming panicked, stammering. Northern Wolf T2 can't be without you. You're the backbone of our team. What will we do if you leave? Let's talk it out. Is there some difficulty? We can solve it together. No difficulties. Li Yini shook her head. I simply don't want to stay anymore. This is so sudden, boss. There must be a reason, right? Yes, boss. The reason is simple. Northern Wolf T2 has provided us with no resources, just the bare minimum salary. Li Yini tapped the table and sneered. So why should I continue to stay here? Which club can't afford a basic salary? The training resources and modification core you've used for the past 6 months were all provided by Nuale. Do you know how exhausted she is? In the corner, Nuale, still in shock, raised her hand weakly and said, actually, it's not that tiring. Shut up. Li Yini shot her a fierce glare. In short, that's how it is. She turned back and shrugged. I'm planning to start my own club or join a new one. I don't know if you all are willing to continue following me. Of course, it's entirely voluntary. I'll follow you to the death. Yu Ming stood at attention and saluted. Speaking clearly, Li Yini nodded in satisfaction and looked at Huang Shixuan. Will Su-chun follow? Before Huang Shixuan could finish speaking, Yu Ming interjected sarcastically. Oh, are you treating Su-chun as an idol now? Wanna be Su-chun's little shadow? Huang Shixuan's face turned red as he gritted his teeth. I just have a bet with him. If we're not in the same club, Yu Ming, isn't it better to compete if you're not in the same club? Huang Shixuan, you don't know anything. Shut up. Li Yini let out a shout, and the office fell silent in an instant. Su-chun nodded in agreement. Then I'll follow suit, she said. Huang Shixuan painfully rubbed his numb ears. What about you guys? Li Yini turned her gaze to the other two team members. Compared to Huang Shixuan and Yu Ming, these two seemed a bit hesitant. Boss, have you found a place to go? One of them asked. No, Li Yini replied straightforwardly. It's highly likely that we will establish a new team and find ways to gather some resources. Currently, she only knew about the completely opposite relationship between Su-chun and James, which suggested that resources wouldn't be an issue. However, the fact that Su-chun could create adjustable wings and core modifications for nitrous acceleration had to be kept confidential. If such a young modification genius were to be exposed, not only would top clubs in the region fight to recruit him, but other regions, driven by extreme envy, might resort to more drastic measures. If they couldn't have him, they would destroy him. For top conglomerates, hiring assassins was not a difficult task. Focusing the conflict on James, while still enviable, wouldn't be as shocking as targeting Su-chun. After all, James was in his 70s and had once been a well-known S-class modification master, making any unfortunate incidents involving him seem somewhat more expected. Additionally, Li Yini wanted to gauge the loyalty of her team members. Yu Ming and Huang Shixuan were obviously trustworthy. They formed the team because of the talent from the Northern Wolves T2, not because of the seemingly glamorous club brand. Captain, I still want to stay with Northern Wolves T2, one team member said, lowering his head and clenching his fists, his face filled with guilt. I don't look down on the newly established club, he mustered the courage to say. I just want to be famous so badly. My mech and I want to achieve glory on the track. After all, I'm not young anymore. I'm in my 30s, not like Huang Shixuan, Su-chun. Or you Ming who are so talented. I don't have the time or energy to waste on the growth of a new club. I understand. A trace of disappointment flashed in Li Yini's eyes. Indeed, she could mention the connections and resources she could gain from having a modification master like James in the future. But that wouldn't yield the results she desired. Su Chen trusted her, and she wanted to provide him with a solid team. Even if they weren't the strongest, they had to be loyal. Captain Li, I feel the same way, another team member chimed in. I believe the new club will thrive with you. But I can't wait for that time. I might not make it to the provincial competition this year with Northern Wolves T2, but there is still a chance next year. At least before I retire from the club, I want to leave more marks on the track with my mech. All right, I fully respect your choices, Li Yini nodded. Then took out a resignation agreement and handed it to Su Chun, Yu Ming, and Huang Shixuan. Sign it. Northern Wolves T2 is a mess everywhere. But the agreement aspect is quite lax. Since they haven't provided us with any resources, we can leave whenever we want. Upon saying this, she couldn't help but chuckle at herself. The higher-ups never thought we would resign or leave the team. They believed that just keeping us at the Northern Wolves T2 was a kind of charity. But starting today, let their charity go to hell. There is definitely some nostalgia. After all, it has been 2 years at the club. However, Yu Ming swiftly signed the agreement. He had a hunch that Li Yini and Su Chun had returned together. These two must have conspired about something. Otherwise, Li Yini's attitude couldn't have changed so quickly. Hadn't they been oppressed by the headquarters before? This time, just because of a phone call from Manager Wang, Li Yini blew up? That's not normal. Very abnormal. He couldn't pinpoint what was off. But he knew that following Li Yini and Su Chun would lead to good outcomes. Huang Shixuan, on the other hand, was completely indifferent. His focus was solely on Su Chun, no matter where they went. Half an hour later, everyone packed up, and like a whirlwind, they erased the traces of their 2 years here. The remaining 2 team members looked at the empty office, feeling a bit lost, as if they had lost something important. Their hearts feeling hollow. Don't be sad. The sky is high, and birds can fly freely. Our captain can make it, but we can't, one said. Yeah, that's true. We might as well stay at the club and take it easy, the other replied. They comforted each other and prepared to take their gear to the cafeteria for a meal. Given the circumstances, they needed to fill their stomachs first. However, just as they reached the door, bang. The door was pushed open violently. Manager Wang, with bandages and a hearing aid on both ears, stormed in with a gloomy face. Followed by a few others. Where's Li Yini? Get her out here. This is outrageous. What? Li Yini resigned? Su Chun, Yu Ming, and Huang Shixuan all resigned too? Manager Wang's mouth dropped open in disbelief as he stared at the remaining 2 team members. He turned to the men behind him, stammering, Captain Su, General Su. I never expected this situation. Li Yini must have said it in anger, right? How dare she resign directly, and take Su Chun and the others with her? Su Sheng frowned, looking at the empty office and the neatly placed resignation letters on the desk, his expression gradually darkening. Li Yini's sudden resignation took him by surprise. He had come specifically to meet Li Yini, but primarily to see Su Chun. He hoped to connect with Su Chun and Master James to obtain assistance with the core modification of the adjustable tail wing. As the captain of Northern Wolves T1, Su Chun should give him some face, right? Even his father, Su Yunfeng, the founder of the Northern Wolves Club, took this very seriously. So when Manager Wang relayed that Li Yini and Su Chun refused to accept the headquarters directives, despite being very angry about it, they still came together. What did you say to Li Yini? Su Sheng's cold gaze fell on Manager Wang. I just said it normally. Manager Wang's expression stiffened, and he stammered. I mentioned that the headquarters hopes to connect with Master James, and asked Su Chun to help facilitate this. Afterwards, Su Chun would be prioritized for development, with plenty of resources and benefits. But Li Yini showed no appreciation at all. That Su Chun is even more arrogant. He went so far as to say that the exact words were that it was impossible to help connect with Master James, claiming that our headquarters isn't worthy. Who does he think he is? Just a core testing modification tool in Master James's hands to gain fame and serve as a product. How dare he act so high and mighty? Su Sheng had a feeling that Manager Wang did not convey the message to Li Yini and Su Chun as he had requested. However, since Li Yini and Su Chun had already resigned from the club, it was pointless to pursue the matter further. This is absolutely outrageous. Su Yunfeng, with his hands behind his back, snorted coldly. Do they really think that without Su Chun, we can't connect with Master James? We were just hoping that having Su Chun as a contact would allow us to obtain some advantages. Now we're merely sacrificing those benefits. And they dare to threaten us with resignations? In the past 2 years, our T2 team has achieved nothing, and it's already commendable that we're still paying them. If they leave, then we'll just increase the salaries for all T1 team members. Su's words were spot on. Manager Wang gave a thumbs up. If Li Yini and the others had stayed with us at the Northern Wolves, they might have had a future. But now that they've resigned, where can they go? Most mid to large clubs already have provincial-level racing teams. They want to be accepted. They want to even be able to think about participating in this year's provincial races. That's absolutely out of the question. What are they so proud of? I think Liini is just being short-sighted, completely disregarding the future of the other drivers. Don't you all agree? Manager Wang glared ominously at the remaining 2 team members. The 2 team members immediately nodded in agreement. So what do we do now? One team member asked worriedly. Now that the Northern Wolves T2 is no longer at full capacity, you can go to T1 as substitutes. Su Sheng replied calmly. With T1's salary and resources, we at Northern Wolves will not neglect those loyal to the club. As soon as these words were spoken, the remaining 2 members of T2 were overjoyed. They had initially thought that Li Yini's departure would be a disaster for them. Unexpectedly, they found a silver lining. They could actually enter T1, even if just as substitutes. But compared to before, at least they would have access to T1's resources and salary. As long as there are resources, there might still be opportunities to get back on track and shine on the racetrack. At that moment, their worries vanished without a trace. And they felt that this choice was indeed the right one. Su Sheng, I will now find a way to contact Master James. Su Yinfeng said confidently. With a winning smile, I have leverage that will surely persuade Master James to help. Don't worry. I will definitely get the T1 Team's adjustable rear wing modification core for you. Yes, father. Su Sheng's tense expression relaxed slightly. Throughout his life, his father had never made promises lightly, but once he said something, he would follow through. Although he wasn't clear on what his father's leverage was, the scene outside Master James's modification shop was bustling with people. Damn it. Is this all the manpower your security company has? Hurry up and send more people. My modification shop is about to be wrecked by these lunatics. James shouted into the phone. He had anticipated that standing at the top of the storm and enjoying the boost of reputation would come with some trouble, but he never expected it to come so quickly. The dual enhancements of the adjustable tail wing and the nitrous boost system were just too authoritative. His inbox was flooded with invitations from various clubs, not only from his local area, but also from others. Even his former rival, the Silver Shark Group, had reached out to him. He had been pushed out of the Silver Shark Group as a modifier, and now they were shamelessly inviting him back. This feeling of vindication made James feel elated. However, when he was surrounded by a crowd of drivers, reporters, and club managers at the entrance of his shop, he could no longer feel that high. Knock, knock, knock. The urgent knocking at the door made James frown. He yelled at the door, "What the hell? I paid you useless security to prevent this. How come there are still idiots getting close to my door?" "Old James, it's me." The voice of Su Chun made the anger on James' face vanish instantly. He quickly opened the door and, seeing the increasingly agitated crowd outside, felt a wave of dizziness. He hurriedly welcomed Su Chun, Xingming, and Queen inside. "You should have let me know you were coming. I didn't even prepare afternoon tea for you," James said with a smile. Though there was a hint of reluctance in his eyes, he had already guessed that Su Chun was here to take away the nitrous boost modification core. He hadn't had enough time to admire it yet. Even though he didn't understand the manufacturing principle, it didn't affect his awe. If possible, he hoped Su Chun could leave the modification core with him for a week. No, a month. "I'm here to discuss something with you." Su Chun sat down on the sofa, taking the tea that James offered with an air of nonchalance. Unfortunately, the people outside couldn't see this. Otherwise, they would surely be shocked. The renowned S-Class modification master actually serving tea to a young man was simply surreal. "Please, go ahead. Just give your orders," James said. Bowing slightly, Su Chun wasted no time, expressing his thoughts directly. "I want to establish a club. James, can you help me?" "What?" James was stunned. "Establishing a club?" He furrowed his brow slightly. "Master Su, you should know that starting a club is not a simple matter. Even if I help you, I can teach you the adjustable tail wing modification core." Su Chun interrupted James with a calm expression. "What?" James's eyes widened, then gradually calmed down. "Could you repeat that?" Su Chun raised an eyebrow. "The adjustable tail wing modification core. I can teach you?" James replied, "Not that part." Su Chun continued. "I want to establish a club. James, can you help me?" James nodded with a smile. "How many do you want to open?" Chapter 236. Fallen Angel. Your ability to change your attitude is quite impressive, isn't it? Su Chun stared at James, amazed. "What did you say?" "I'm getting old. My hearing isn't great." James smiled at Su Chun, patting his ear. "Su Chun, let's discuss the establishment of the club." This time, James heard him clearly. "Please go ahead." With the topic back on track, James's expression became more serious. "I remember you're currently a driver with Northern Wolf T2. Why the sudden desire to start your own club? Is it a whim or—" Su Chun briefly described the content of the call he received from Liini to James. After a pause, he added, "Do you think I can continue at Northern Wolf T2? Other clubs don't have good options either. Since I have resources, connections, and funding now, why not become self-reliant?" James frowned and nodded. "Given your current achievements, there is no need to rely on others. This Northern Wolf Club is so short-sighted. Their future achievements will be limited. I thought it would be difficult for you to start a club because you have to participate in provincial competitions. Now that we are almost at the third round of provincial qualifiers, finding qualified drivers at this stage would be quite tough. However, I just learned that you will be leaving Northern Wolf with Li Yini, Yu Ming, and Huang Shixuan, so that shouldn't be a big problem. The provincial competition requires a team of 5. Once the club is established, recruiting 2 qualified drivers within 3 months should be manageable. After all, you used to work as a modifier in a big club. Su Chun took a sip of tea and said casually, I think you should be more familiar with the construction and operation of a club than I am, which is why I wanted to ask for your help. It should be fine if I leave it to you, right? James nodded. Leave it to me, Master Su. Seeing James hesitating to speak, Su Chun couldn't help but chuckle. When did this old man become so cautious with his words? Is he scared by his own nitrous oxide modification core? Just say it directly. James pursed his lips and pondered. A new club needs a coach, right? I have a candidate in mind. I wonder if you've heard of the Golden Razor. If you haven't, that's okay. You should have noticed the significant improvement in Su Che and Feng He's skills in the recent match. Besides my support with the modification core, their technical progress is entirely thanks to that coach. His name is Gino, a man who was known as the Golden Razor 10 years ago. I've heard of the Golden Razor. Su Chen nodded. Not only had he heard of him, but he had also done some research. No wonder Su Che and Feng He improved so much. It turns out it wasn't just James's credit, but also the involvement of that training ground owner. Isn't that a coincidence? It seems James intends to recommend that training ground owner as the club's coach. However, there must be more to it than that. There are certainly other expectations. Just as Su Chen was pondering, James showed a hint of joy on his face. So you've heard about him too? That's great. I owe him a favor. He has been wanting to meet you, and I hope you can give him a chance. Su Chen felt a bit confused. Hadn't he already met Kino? Why didn't Kino reach out to him back then? Now he had to go through such a roundabout way, with James playing the intermediary. Despite his confusion, he nodded. When do you want to meet? I have time anytime. You agree. James clapped his hands. Then let's do it now. Kino, you can come in. He called out towards the door of the inner room. In Su Chen's bewildered gaze, Kino, the owner of the training ground, a man with curly hair, cautiously pushed the door open, his face marked with the wear of time, filled with anticipation and eagerness. Master Su, we meet again. Kino had changed into a wrinkled suit to appear as formal as possible. His messy hair was tied up. His companion, Qianghai, was also present. Compared to Kino's faded clothes, Qianghai's dress was clearly brand new, showing signs of careful preparation, and she looked very beautiful. At this moment, she stood beside Kino, holding onto his sleeve with one hand, her lowered brows revealing anxiety and nervousness, her eyelashes trembling slightly. Su Chen sighed inwardly. Why did it feel like these two were meeting a great demon king? Was he really such a terrifying person? You two chat. Haha. James was quite satisfied with the scene before him and signaled to the butler. Both of them then exited the hall together. Master Su, have some tea. Kino offered a cup of hot tea with both hands to Su Chen. That's the one James drank from. I'm sorry. Kino quickly put it down, wishing he could slap himself. No need for such formalities. Su Chen said lightly, I'm not one for this kind of protocol. I prefer to be straightforward. So I'll just say it. What do you need from me? What kind of assistance do you require, and what value can you offer in return? Kino bit his dry lips, tightening the hand that was clasped with Qianghai's. After a long pause, he finally said with difficulty, I heard that Queen was previously a malfunctioning machine modified by the night team, and it was with your help that she finally returned to the track. Qianghai's situation is similar. 10 years ago, I was also part of the night team, and Qianghai was also modified by them and ended up with problems. For the past 10 years, I have been seeking ways to help her recover, but I never found a way. I came to you today to see if there's still a chance for her recovery. As for the benefits I can bring you, Kino forced a bitter smile. I only have a bit of technical skill to offer. No matter what you want, I can earn money for it. Even if you want my organs. Stop. Stop, stop. Su Chun felt darkness before his eyes. Why would he want organs? He was a driver and a modifier. What would he do with them? Besides, in this world, healthy organs might not be worth as much as a modification core, considering how advanced medical technology was. Kino said this mainly because there was nothing left, expressing a determination to give everything. This determination has already been received by Su Chun. He looked at Qianghai, who was sitting obediently on one side, as exquisite as a doll, while the eye of God quietly operated. Name, Qianghai Star Emblem, Storm Speed, 65 Cornering, 78 Stability, 61 Burst, 51 Endurance, 9 Modification Core, Assault Type 3, Blue, Stigmata, None Current Level, B Special Talent, None Frequency, 36, Kino, Status, Good, Fault, Endurance Decrease, Evaluation, Winged Angel. Chapter 237, Let Them Roll Away. I hope Kino and his mech girl can have a good outcome. James murmured outside the hall door. However, he knew that some things were not so easily changed. The fact that Queen's fault state was corrected might just be a coincidence. It could also be because Queen had not been in a fault state for long, leaving room for recovery for Su-chun. But Xiong-hai was different. Her issues had existed for 11 years. Could the accumulated faults really be corrected so easily? Even Su-chan would likely find it very difficult. In any case, James had no idea how to solve Queen's problems before. Mech girls never fell ill, they could only be injured. But injuries could be handled by professional medical teams. So there were no specialized doctors for any illnesses specific to mech girls, nor were there any medications for treating diseases. A mech girl in a fault state looked like she was sick. However, the modification specialist's job was to create modification cores and formulate modification plans, which had no connection to treating the mech girl's faults. So until now, James could not think of how Su-chan managed to restore Queen. Mr. James, the owner of the Northern Wolf Club wants to see you, the butler said cautiously as he entered. Northern Wolf. James was taken aback. Su-chun had just withdrawn from the Northern Wolf, and now they wanted to see him? He couldn't believe these two events were unrelated. He had always maintained a neutral attitude toward all clubs, but due to Su-chan's matter, he now had a very unfavorable view of the Northern Wolf Club, frowning immediately. What do they want? They said they wanted to negotiate for the adjustable tail wing modification core, the butler said carefully. He understood what this meant to James and found the request somewhat ridiculous. But since he was a club owner, he did not dare to make a rash decision. They want the adjustable tail wing modification core. James's mouth twitched, and a strange smile appeared on his face. They had offended the main party severely and came to find him, a mere imposter? It was truly absurd. Let them roll as far away as they could. James waved his hand dismissively, not even considering his own standing. Did he not realize he could take a moment to reflect on himself? The butler said, they claim to have brought a gift that you cannot refuse, a platinum-level modification core. He glanced at James's expression, but James remained calm and expressionless. The platinum-level modification core could only be crafted by X-level modifiers. As an S-level modifier, if James could obtain one and delve deeper into its study, he might have a chance to comprehend the crafting methods of the platinum-level core, thus advancing from S-level to X-level. The more platinum-level cores he had, the more opportunities there were to absorb the experiences of multiple X-level modifiers and achieve a technical breakthrough. Currently, James had 7 platinum-level modification cores in his own warehouse, which he often studied in his spare time. Furthermore, the butler knew that James continued to collect more platinum-level cores. However, these cores were not only expensive but also rare in the market, and many S-level modifiers were competing for them. So whenever news of a platinum-level core emerged, James would be very excited. Yet today, he felt nothing but indifference, as if he had heard someone pass gas. A mere platinum-level core thinks it can meet me? Who do they think they are? James took a sip of tea and cursed. Tell them to get lost. If they don't leave, I'll disband their modification team today. The butler paused for a moment and whispered, should I convey the exact words? Or modify them a bit? James replied, convey the exact words. How about it, butler? Mr. James should agree to meet us now, right? Su Yunfeng asked with a tone of inquiry, but he was very confident. He knew that all S-level modifiers were collecting platinum-level modification cores. This core was an irresistible gift for S-level modifiers. To obtain the adjustable rear wing modification core, he was willing to take risks. Fortunately, this platinum-level core was not suitable for him or his son S machine, so he wouldn't feel too pained even if he gave it away as a gift. The butler sighed, showing a look of sympathy. Su Yunfeng gradually sensed something was off with the butler's expression and stammered, Butler, you should say something. All right, I'll speak, the butler responded. Just as he finished speaking, the kind-looking old butler's face suddenly turned fierce, resembling James, as he pointed at Su Yunfeng's nose and shouted, a mere platinum-level modification core thinks it can meet me? Take a good look at yourself in the mirror. Get lost. Hurry up and leave. If you don't leave, I'll disband your club's modification team today. The corridor outside the hall fell silent. The group of reporters, who had been stopped by bodyguards, fell silent for a moment before all the cameras turned in unison. Amidst the flashing cameras, the old butler quietly watched Su Yunfeng's face gradually turn red. These were the master's exact words. He sighed and said flatly, you may leave. The master's decision is unchangeable. Go back and reflect on where you have offended the master. The master usually doesn't strike those who smile, and you all seem quite cheerful today. It would be inappropriate for him to turn his back to you. Though the words are rough, there is truth in them. After the butler finished speaking, he slammed the door shut, leaving Su Yunfeng and his companions in the cold hallway feeling disoriented. You're the owner of the Northern Wolf Club, Mr. Su, right? A reporter approached, almost shoving the microphone in Su Yunfeng's face. What are your thoughts on the incident involving Master James? Is there any feud between you and him? I've heard that a core member of your T2 team has voluntarily resigned. Is it due to poor management of your club? Are your drivers being oppressed? It's been said that the star player Su-chan also resigned from T2. Do you regret this decision? Under the barrage of questions from the reporters, Su Yunfeng fled in embarrassment. He felt quite flustered today and was hesitant to direct his anger solely at Master James. A remark from the butler had made him realize what had offended Master James, leading to his hostile attitude of not wanting to meet at all. In the car, Su Yunfeng gradually calmed down, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. I need to investigate the reasons behind the resignations of the T2 team members, he murmured to himself. In the reception room of James's tuning shop, the atmosphere was tense. Su Chen had been staring at Xianghai for quite a while, making both Xianghai and Gino feel uneasy. Any change in Su Chen's expression tugged at Gino's heart. Fortunately, Su Chen maintained a blank expression until he finally looked away. Master Su Chen, how is it? Xianghai and Gino looked at him with hopeful eyes, their hearts racing. Well, Xianghai's issue is quite serious, Su Chen said, his face suddenly turning serious, which made Gino's heart sink. Huh. A hint of disappointment flashed in his eyes as he stammered. So, you mean it can be fixed? Su Chen nodded. So, you also can't cure it. Gino was taken aback, his trembling pupils bursting with uncontainable joy. What did you just say? It can be fixed? Su Chen repeated. Yes? It just needs some adjustments. Adjustments? Gino stared blankly at Su Chen, struggling to understand how fixing Xianghai related to the term adjustments. Su Chen's casual tone made those words feel too light, almost unbelievable. Yes, Xianghai's issue is serious and needs adjustments, Su Chen said solemnly. Rising to take the white coat that James had prepared in advance from the hanger. The coat would lend him an air of authority, making it easier for Gino to trust what he said, even if the effect might be minimal. If you believe me, Su Chen turned to Gino and Xianghai. Then let Xianghai come with me to the next room. I will resolve all her issues. Oh, and Xianghai will need to wear an eye mask. Although it is believed that Kino and Xianghai make a good pair, otherwise the frequency of their interactions wouldn't be so high. However, Su Chen grew up listening to the story of the farmer and the snake, so he believes one must always be cautious. He can teach James the core methods for modifying the wing elevators because he possesses even stronger technology. In the face of absolute technical superiority, he is not afraid that James will betray him. But the situation with the healing machine girl is different. His ability, the divine hand, must not be exposed to anyone outside of Xingming and Queen. This is his bottom line and a means of self-protection. In fact, since he agreed to help Kino and Xianghai, he has been under psychological pressure. For Kino, this is an attempt, but for him, it is a risk. He has already done his utmost. If Kino cannot accept his seemingly bizarre requests, then it ends here. It can only be said that it is not meant to be. Mr. Su Chen, why must you go to a separate room? Xianghai asked, her head down, nervously fiddling with the hem of her clothes. Su Chen's words were hard not to misinterpret. If the cost of treatment involves those things, she would rather not be treated. It's my personal habit. I don't want to be disturbed when making adjustments to the machine girls, Su Chen patiently explained. Tuning is a very serious matter. Even your breathing could lead to a modification failure. Are you willing to take that responsibility? Xianghai's issues are already quite serious, Mr. Kino. Do you really want to see them worsen because of the treatment? Faced with Su Chen's pressure, Kino was left speechless. If you have concerns. Su Chen looked at Xianghai again. I can allow either Xingming or Queen to accompany you. You can choose one. Wouldn't they disturb you? Xianghai asked instinctively. How could the machine girl I share a bed with every day disturb me? The understanding between us is beyond your imagination. Upon hearing this, Queen's face instantly flushed red, wanting to retort, but unable to find the words. It seemed as if she feared losing something by arguing in front of so many people. Xingmeng, on the other hand, was completely different, proudly lifting her chin and puffing out her chest at Su Chen's words. It was as if sharing a bed with him was a matter of great honor. Naturally, she didn't bite her lip and blush like Queen, listening to Su Chen. Xianghai's gaze shifted back and forth between Xingming and Queen. From the first impression, Xingming felt like a cheerful little cat to her. They had already added each other as friends and exchanged morning and evening greetings daily, occasionally sharing snippets of their lives. To her, she and Xingming were already good friends. As for Queen, she seemed like a cold, formidable older sister, exuding strength and inspiring awe. Although she appeared more reliable and serious than Xingming, truth be told, Xianghai still preferred to be with Xingming, as it felt much easier and happier. Xianghai, it's fine if Xingming or Queen is present. Seeing Xianghai hesitating, Jinhua was afraid she would miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He gently took her cold hand and whispered, such a master as Su Chen is recognized by the renowned James. And although he looks young, he is absolutely authoritative. Masters like him lack nothing and won't harm us. In fact, Jinhua was uncertain himself. Saying these words was as much encouragement for Xianghai as it was for himself. Over the past decade, he had been deceived too many times, used by others, scammed, and stood up. But now, with nothing to his name, he chose to trust Su Chen's reputation and James's credibility. I understand, Master. Xianghai looked at Xingming and bit her lip. I want to be with Xingming. Upon hearing this, Xingming flashed a silly smile at Xianghai. Queen curled her lip, but didn't say anything. It was best if she didn't follow. Xianghai and Jinua's distrust in Su Chun had already annoyed her. Did they really think Su Chun was doing charity? They had no idea how precious an opportunity it was to receive Su Chin's help. 10 minutes later, in the modification room, put on the eye mask and lie down on the modification table. Su Chin tossed a black eye mask to the anxious girl and gestured towards the workbench. Under Xingming's encouraging gaze, Xianghai took a deep breath and glanced at the shadow outside the door. That was her master Jinhua. The man was leaning against the anti-peeping glass door of the modification room, and she could only make out a vague silhouette. For the first time in 10 years, she was disappearing from Jinhua's sight, and this feeling of detachment made her uneasy. This unease stemmed not only from her reliance on Jinhua, but also from the helplessness of being in a prolonged low after her performance had deteriorated. This psychological trauma was the result of long-term accumulation and could not be easily resolved by Su Chin's assurances or Xingming's encouragement. On the cold workbench, Xianghai's body tensed up, rigid as a corpse. The eye mask deprived her of sight, and the chill that enveloped her made her tremble involuntarily. A warm little hand grasped hers, and she heard Xingming's gentle voice beside her. Xianghai, don't be afraid. It will be over soon. Memories of the past decade flooded Xianghai's mind. Everything Jinhua had done to restore her body. 10 years had taken away this man's pride and confidence. Once sharp-edged, he had now become as smooth as a pebble, easily rolling far away in the stream. She didn't want Jinhua to sacrifice for her anymore. Enough. It had already been too much. She wanted it all to end. She clenched her fists, allowing fear to grip her heart, but her body stopped trembling. At the same time, Su Chun extended his left hand and pressed it lightly against Xianghai's chest. Starlight flickered in his pupils, as if reflecting a sea of stars. Disassemble, he silently recited. Chapter 238, Back to the Past. The surgery was very successful. You have been restored to factory settings. Huh. Xianghai was stunned. Is it already over in less than 5 minutes? That's too quick. She didn't even feel much before it ended. It wasn't that she felt nothing. It was more like she had been freed from a cage, finally shedding the burdens that had accumulated over the years. She felt light as a feather. And if she got off the workbench at that moment, she would surely be walking on air. At the same time, it seemed like she didn't have as much energy as before. Her attributes seemed to have decreased significantly. Over the past decade, her endurance had been gradually declining. Every so often, her companion would take her for performance tests, and she could only watch helplessly as her endurance attributes continued to drop. She was very sensitive to these declines. Each drop in performance brought her a heavy sense of fatigue and deep anxiety. But today, although she felt the performance drop, it was as if she had been reborn, like a newborn baby, without any fatigue, as if every cell in her body was rejoicing. It was a miraculous feeling. Something subtle had changed. What are you standing there for? Come down quickly. Her companion waved to her, prompting her to get down. He casually removed her eye mask, sprayed some alcohol on the workbench, and wiped away the oil-like black liquid with a disposable cloth. The disassembled core had already been thrown in the trash. He was quick and nimble, ensuring that she didn't see the black liquid. She stood there, dazed, watching his actions, and her face gradually flushed. I'm clean, she mumbled. Looking down. I know, he replied, raising an eyebrow as he glanced at her. It's my habit to keep the workbench spotless. You don't need to worry. Your problem has been resolved. Go find your master, and while you're at it, get James for a performance test. She couldn't tell if he genuinely didn't mind her, or if he was just pretending. Feeling a bit dazed, she walked outside, still in a state of confusion. Rationality made it hard for her to believe that a 10-year issue had been resolved in less than 5 minutes. But the feedback from her body seemed to ignite her hope. Now, she just needed a performance test, and everything would be clear. He watched as she closed the door, and a hint of fatigue finally showed on his otherwise calm face. The disassembly had truly drained his energy. Even with his enhanced abilities, he didn't feel great. As if he had been moving bricks for 3 nights straight, utterly exhausted. Just as he was about to lean on the chair to rest, a small hand reached out to support him. Star Dream helped him sit on the sofa in the room, naturally pressing him onto her lap. You've worked hard, Meow, she said. He enjoyed the comfort of her lap, the scent surrounding him revitalizing his spirits. Although his body was still tired, the mental fatigue seemed to be fading quickly, even bringing a hint of excitement. However, he felt somewhat powerless. Although he could see a beautiful view by looking up, he could only feel a fleeting excitement. Where did you learn this? He asked her. From a TV show, she replied honestly. They say it helps you relieve fatigue. As she spoke, her cool fingers gently massaged Su Chen's temples. She seemed to have learned it well, though the pressure was not quite right. She still hadn't grasped the essence of it. Su Chen couldn't see Xing Ming's face, but he could feel her gentle gaze. Master can teach me, and I'll study hard, she said. Then lean down, Su Chen replied. Xing Ming complied. Lean down a bit more. Yes, that's right. Su Chen felt the softness against his face and let out a satisfied sigh. This was the correct way to enjoy a lap pillow. But Xing Ming blinked in confusion. Really? 1T you have difficulty breathing? You clearly need plenty of oxygen and better rest. You don't understand, came Su Chin's muffled voice. This is exactly the feeling I want. Xingming responded. But Master, you're breathing heavily. Shouldn't you be struggling to breathe? Or should I don't worry about me? I'm just enjoying it. Su Chin interrupted. Qianghai, how are you? Why are you out so quickly? Jino, waiting in the hallway, looked astonished as Qianghai emerged. He initially thought fine-tuning would be a major project, just something Su Chin added for reassurance. Qianghai's issue had troubled them for 10 years, and no modifier had been able to resolve it. Such a serious problem surely would take several hours, if not multiple treatments. He had prepared himself for the first fine-tuning to yield little effect. Master Su said it was done. Qianghai timidly nodded, looking just as bewildered. Jino rushed over to check on Qianghai. The next moment, he was elbowed aside by James, who seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. Is it all done? Hee. James's face scrunched up with a sly smile. I didn't expect it to be so quick. Let us check your body to see if the performance has recovered. I have a full set of equipment here, and the data output is very accurate. James's excitement made Qianghai a bit uneasy. It seemed this modifier was also very interested in her treatment results. However, compared to the cold gaze and mysterious actions of Su Chan, the cold machines in James's modification room gave her a greater sense of security. Soon, the test results came out. Upon seeing Qianghai's attributes, both Jino and James widened their eyes. Endurance, it's really restored. Haha, Qianghai, your endurance is back. While Jino's reaction was pure surprise, James's expression was much more complex. This can't be right, can it? Master Su actually achieved this. He furrowed his brow. Originally a B-class mech, Qianghai had regressed to a D-class, with all her performance significantly reduced. Previously, Qianghai's performance was speed, 65, cornering, 78, stability, 61, burst, 51, endurance, 9 now. Qianghai's performance had changed to speed, 59, cornering, 68, stability, 51, burst, 44, endurance, 61. He could hardly imagine how Su Chin managed to revert Qianghai's performance. In a sense, this regression is not a withering away, but a rebirth. Can you still feel the solidified modification core within you? James looked at Qianghai, who remained silent, staring at the data on the screen. After a moment, the girl's voice trembled as it came through. Qianghai turned around, tears of joy sparkling in the dim light of the modification room. It's back. Everything is back. Chapter 239. Ayano's choice from Qianghai's current physical condition. It seems that the negative effects accumulated over the past decade have been completely resolved. James reassured Kino. I don't know how Master Su Chin did it, but starting today, Qianghai will begin anew. If I'm not mistaken, all the solidified modification cores in her body have been completely removed, including those training memory capsules she consumed 10 years ago at Knight's Voice, which should also have been eliminated. Although this is just an assumption, James is almost 100% certain that his inference is accurate, because now, Qianghai's performance is that of a very pure, standard Storm Star emblem mecha girl. If the effects of the solidified cores and training memory capsules were still present, her performance would definitely still lean towards the average. After all, the modification trends have not changed for a century, and the modification plans of the Knight's Voice team a decade ago would be no different from those now. As long as it can be completely resolved, that's all that matters. I just want Qianghai to return to the track, Kino stammered, looking at Qianghai, whose aura was completely different, with eyes full of excitement and guilt. Starting anew means starting anew. What was once lost, we will find again. He had waited for this day for too long, a full decade. Although Qianghai had never complained, there were times when she watched the mecha girls racing on the track on television, and sadness and pain would still show in her eyes. Every time Kino saw such emotions in Qianghai's eyes, he could only clench his fists and silently blame himself, then set off again on the path to find a way to restore her. Then, he would repeat the cycle of hitting walls and finding nothing. Now, he had finally made it through. Even though he had passed the peak age for drivers, he would still do his utmost to become a driver worthy of Qianghai. The two locked eyes, and all the bittersweet emotions were exchanged in that gaze. Master Qianghai. Master. Woo-woo. Qianghai. James watched as Kino and Qianghai embraced. A chill running down his spine. He quietly stepped outside, leaning against the glass door, reminiscing about the past with a slight smile. Then he realized he had nothing much to reminisce about because he didn't have a mecha girl. He grew up in a very ordinary family, unable to afford a mecha girl or attend a league academy. Yet he didn't want to give up on his dream of engaging with this top-tier world. So he chose the low-cost modeling school, and from then on, there was no turning back. Back in the days when he was at the peak of his game, although he didn't have a companion, there were still plenty of girls pursuing him. He thought to give Jino and Qianghai some time alone, and casually turned off the lights in the room. Jino. Qianghai. Ayano, do you have anything to say about the results of this competition? In the office of the Night Voice organization, Qin Xian wore a dark expression, his gaze sternly fixed on the man standing awkwardly in front of him. Boss, it was my poor performance. Ayano lowered her head to admit her mistake. She understood Qin Xian's character when problems arose. Shirking responsibility would only lead to harsher punishment. The correct approach was to take all the blame upon herself without seeking any other excuses. No matter how objectively true it was that the track wasn't suitable for night trot, or that the modification core wasn't as good as the opponent's, or that the track analyst misjudged Su Chen's trump card leading to a complete failure of the plan, none of these could be mentioned. No, it's not that you didn't perform well. Qin Xian's anger eased slightly as he said calmly, it's night trot. Its performance isn't sufficient. If night trot could match the performance of the 3 companions under my command, it wouldn't matter what kind of modifications like the adjustable rear wing or nitrous acceleration system you had. Combined with your skills, the championship should be within reach. A hint of panic appeared on Ayano's face, and she quickly replied, no, boss, it has nothing to do with night trot. Its performance could have easily secured the championship. It's just that I didn't coordinate well with night trot. The office fell silent, the oppressive low pressure making it hard to breathe. After a while, Ayano finally heard Qin Xian's indifferent voice. You are indeed good to your companion, taking all the problems upon yourself. But have you considered that being good to your companion means giving her a brilliant future? I didn't interfere with your modification plans before because I believed you could handle it, and your performance was indeed commendable. However, the facts now show that the intensity of the competition is right in front of you. And your insistence on your modification plan can no longer lead Night Trot and the Night Trot team to victory. So why don't you trust the club just this once? Qin Xian's sharp gaze made Ayano instinctively shrink back. Her words felt like weapons in a relentless assault. You are a driver for the Night Voice Group, and the Night Team is a top modification team renowned in the region. If you don't trust the club, then what are you doing here? You are one of the key seed players nurtured by our organization. Can we really harm you? Look at your predecessors. The T2 Nightmare team of Night Voice and the T1 Night Demon team that I lead. What achievements have we made? We have proven through results that the path we are taking is correct, yet you still want to be stubborn? Ayano. Qin Xian leaned slightly forward, emphasizing his tone. Blindly sticking to your own views is, at times, a form of despicable arrogance, don't you think? Qin Xian's words were sharp and well-reasoned. Ayano found herself unable to resist wavering. I heard that the Queen modified by the Night team had some issues before, but that's a low-probability event. Qin Xian interrupted Ayano, explaining that the previous deputy chief of the modification team misjudged the status of the Queen, which led to problems after she used the memory training capsule. That deputy chief has since been dismissed. Currently, the Night team is led by Richard, a well-known modification master from the European region. He previously worked for the Lionheart modification team, which is one of the top modification teams in the European region. Ayano certainly knows this. He is from the European region himself, but came to the Hua region for family reasons. However, this does not prevent him from having heard of the Lionheart modification team's reputation since childhood. So, when he learned that Qin Xian had invited Master Richard, he was genuinely surprised and also marveled at how powerful the Night team had become, even recruiting a modifier from the Lionheart team as their chief. Can you guarantee that the Nightmare won't have any issues? Ayano asked cautiously. This question was quite overstepping, enough to potentially anger Qin Xian. But for the sake of the Nightmare, he needed the president's stance. High-ranking individuals are often concerned about their image. They wouldn't deceive a mere driver, right? Of course. Qin Xian did not get angry. Instead, he softened his tone and said gently, before the Nightmare undergoes modification, you will be the first to see the modification plan. And you can consult any modifier or modification team with it. If anyone thinks the modification plan is inadequate and offers reasonable suggestions, the Night team can optimize it further based on that. Additionally, whether to participate in the modification requires the agreement of both you and your machine companion, the Nightmare. You know better than I do how strong her pride is. Compared to your current hesitance, the Nightmare is much braver and smarter. She has actually already agreed to the Night team's modification plan. Ah, the Nightmare has agreed already? Ayano was taken aback. You can ask her yourself. Qin Xian shrugged. Okay, I understand. Ayano took a deep breath and nodded. I agree, he said, trembling as he picked up the pen to sign his name on the agreement that Qin Xian handed over. Chapter 240. The Uranus Agreement sign here. Suchin glanced at the somewhat reserved Gino and pushed a document across the table. Just as Gino said, he lacked nothing, so the benefits he could offer were limited. Aside from his beloved machine companion, Xianghai, it was just Gino himself. Therefore, the goal of this document was to bind Gino to Suchin permanently. Thus, Suchin sought the world's harshest agreement from James, known as the Uranus Agreement. It was said to be the agreement signed by some club members when the Star God established the club back in the day. The contract is nominally the highest treatment, but in reality, it's even worse than slavery. However, to be fair, those who were bound by the Uranus Agreement have achieved remarkable successes. From this perspective, becoming a part of it seems like a guaranteed profit. The terms of the Uranus Agreement are very simple and straightforward. Firstly, members who sign the agreement must work for the club and its owners for 100 years. Secondly, there are no channels or rights to exit the club. Even in death, their ashes must be scattered at the club's entrance. Thirdly, all resource allocations are decided solely by the owner, meaning that whether or not salaries are paid depends entirely on the owner's mood and conscience. These three clauses are far less verbose than agreements from other clubs, which often span thousands of words, and there are no word games involved. The entire core is just one blatantly unfair clause. It's a blatant clause written out in the open. Even more absurdly, since this clause was drafted by the celestial beings, it has been recognized by all societal forces. Once this agreement is signed, the interpretation rights completely detach from any forces rules and are solely determined by the corresponding club. Almost no one would sign such an agreement. The Uranus Agreement feels more like an abstract joke. But now, looking at those three seemingly extreme conditions, Kino didn't hesitate for a second and directly signed it. Master Su resolved the issues concerning Qianghai. To me, he is like a reborn parent, so these conditions are nothing at all. Seeing the confusion in Su Chen's eyes, Kino smiled and explained. He could give up his life for Qianghai, so what is signing the Uranus Agreement? Even if it means working for Su Chen for a lifetime without pay, as long as Qianghai is happy, he would be satisfied. A wise choice. Su Chen nodded slightly and put away the contract. This agreement is indeed harsh, but it is merely a means to bind you. In terms of resources and salaries, you can rest assured, what should be there is all there, and compared to other owners, I give more, not less. Kino nodded in response. After this incident, he was already convinced that Su Chen was a good person and was not worried about not being able to afford food while following Su Chen and Qianghai. Boss Su, I heard you plan to establish a club? At this point, he had already voluntarily changed his wording. Yes, Su Chen thought James must have mentioned this to Kino. Now that you have withdrawn from the Northern Wolves Club, if you want to continue participating in the provincial competitions in the second half of the year, you must maintain your club background before the third preliminary round. This means you need to set up the club within a month and pass the League Association's review. Kino's face showed a worried expression. From what I said, you should know the difficulty is not small, right? Su Chen nodded and then shook his head. I feel the difficulty is manageable. It's acceptable. Kino thought he hadn't explained clearly and continued. Clubs that meet the league review standards must satisfy several conditions. First, they need a stable club location. It can't be rented, but must be a fully purchased property, equipped with basic infrastructure, such as training grounds. Secondly, at least one modifier and one coach. Thirdly, at least 3 drivers who have ranked in the top 3 of the city championship. As soon as this was said, James walked in through the door. You don't have to worry about that. He leaned against the window and said lightly, when Master Su left the Northern Wolves T2. He took 3 team members with him. As for the coach and modifier, aren't you the coach? Am I not the modifier? I'm sure Master Su won't lack funds. So the only trouble we need to solve is the club's headquarters. Gino shook his head repeatedly. I can't be the coach. My coaching certificate has expired. Just take the exam again. James raised an eyebrow. Isn't the Golden Razor still a Golden Razor 10 years later? Don't you have confidence in passing the coaching assessment? Master Su and I are very eager for you to return as the former chief coach of the Night Voice. Gino scratched his head. The trust from Su Chen and James surprised him. After 10 years of setbacks, his confidence and sharpness had long been shattered. He never thought he could be a coach at Su Chen's club. His original idea was to help out in the club, doing whatever was needed. But he didn't expect Su Chen and James to have such high expectations of him. Master, I believe in you. With a warmth in his palm, Gino raised his eyes to meet Qianghai's encouraging gaze. In those bright eyes, he saw a version of himself that was timid and worn. When did he become like this? Hunched over, shrinking away. Now that Qianghai had recovered, should he still look the same? He was the Golden Razor, the top coach from 10 years ago. He was able to become the chief coach then, so why not 10 years later? Looking at Su Chen again, Gino's expression became solemn and determined, with a spark of fire shining brightly in his eyes. Boss, I will go retake the coaching certificate. I will become an excellent coach. That's the spirit. James laughed. You're much younger than I am. How can you not have a bit of drive? Young people should be full of vigor. Do you have any recommendations for the club's headquarters? Su Chen asked James. It's not easy to handle. James shook his head. Right now? The land is controlled by the tycoons, like the Night Voice Group, which is expensive, and knowing that you want to open a club, they definitely want to sell you the land. Su Chen frowned. He didn't expect what he thought would be the simplest link to become the biggest trouble. Let us put out a message. Su Chen pondered for a while and said to James. Announce to the outside world that we want to establish a club and are looking to buy land. James looked confused. Buying secretly might still have a chance of success. If the news gets out, won't it make it even harder to buy? What is the point of doing this? James asked, puzzled. Suchin sneered. Whoever doesn't T-sell or obstructs our purchase, then the core modification for the adjustable tail wing 1T be sold to them. Currently, there are 3 types of adjustable tail wing modifications on the market. The first type is for YT used by Ayano. The second type is for Foam, he used by Suche. The third one is used for Xingming and Queen. Ironically, the first 2 are both from James. Being the original and the second improved version he produced, also derived from his core modification of the adjustable tail wing, yet they differ greatly in functional stability. Therefore, in terms of the adjustable tail wing modification, he still holds a monopolistic technical position. So why bow down to those clubs? With James as a shield and a technical monopoly, he is the one in power. Those who follow will prosper, while those who oppose will perish. If you can set him up, just wait for the regrets to come. Brothers, let's get energized. Chapter 241. Building a club is not that easy, Manager Wang. How did you communicate with Li Yini before? In the office of the owner of the Northern Wolf Club, Su Yunfeng had a cold expression. His eyes seemed ready to devour someone, just as you requested. Manager Wang's gaze wandered, not daring to meet the owner's eyes. You're talking nonsense. Su Yunfeng slammed the table. You think I have no evidence? He took out a recording and played it for Manager Wang. Within it were his sharp and sarcastic words during a phone call with Li Yini. I asked you to have a good talk with Li Yini, to seek Su Chin's help in connecting us, and what did you do? Look at what you've done. Manager Wang turned pale upon hearing the recording. He never expected the boss to have obtained the recording of his call with Li Yini. After all, who would intentionally check that? Boss, please let me explain. I didn't know Su Chun had such a good relationship with James. During the previous meeting, didn't we speculate that Su Chun was just a tool for Master James? Since he's just a tool, I thought there was no need to be so respectful. Right? Besides, why should our big club bow down to minor characters like Su Chun and Li Yini? Isn't that embarrassing for you? Manager Wang felt increasingly aggrieved. He was the manager at headquarters, not the branch manager of T2. Usually, he had a domineering attitude towards the T2 team members and managers. And Su Yunfeng and Su Xing never corrected him. Over time, he got used to it and thought the boss had tacitly approved of his internal attitude. Now Su Yunfeng thought there was something wrong with his attitude. How could he not feel wronged? Su Yunfeng's face turned red and unable to contain his anger. He grabbed the ashtray on the table and smashed it into Manager Wang's face. Seeing Manager Wang rolling on the ground in pain, he finally felt relieved. You idiot. Do you know what opportunity we missed because of you and the Northern Wolf? It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, we would have already connected with Master James. You are fully responsible for this. You must give headquarters an explanation. Otherwise, you can get out of here. And I guarantee you won't survive in the club management industry after this. These words were as powerful as a knife to the throat. The club manager's career also depends on his track record. If Su Yunfeng were to make this matter public, he wouldn't even need to intervene. He could already be considered expelled from this industry. Where would he find another job with such a high salary? He still has car and mortgage payments to deal with. His heart was gradually filled with fear and panic. Manager Wang crawled up from the ground, clutching his head, enduring the pain as he bowed his head. Boss, I know I was wrong. Please give me another chance. Just one more chance. Su Yunfeng coldly replied, I'm not giving you a chance. What you must do is make compensation. He snorted, I don't care what methods you use. Either persuade Li Yini and her team members to come back, or help the club get in touch with Master James. After saying that, he waved his hand dismissively. Get lost. Manager Wang left in a disheveled state. Su Yunfeng wearily rubbed his forehead. What could a club manager do? He had no hope in Manager Wang. The only thing Manager Wang could do was to show their club's sincere attitude. After all, it was impossible for him, the boss, to go and bow to Su Chun and James to admit his mistakes, right? Even if Manager Wang couldn't make contact, at least he could calm the anger of the other party and resolve the misunderstanding so that he could bring Su Sheng back later, avoiding the situation where they couldn't even meet Master James. Ding dong. The notification sound from his phone interrupted Su Yunfeng's thoughts. He impatiently picked up his phone to take a look, but his hand froze. Boss, you asked us to keep an eye on Master James and Su Chen's movements. And now there's news. James and Su Chun are preparing to establish a club, but they're currently stuck on finding a location. A new club? Su Yunfeng's first reaction was that it was preposterous. A century ago, during the era of the Star Gods, due to the driving technology revolution brought by the Star Gods, various clubs sprang up like mushrooms after rain. Many of them shut down during their development, while others became top-tier clubs today. The Voice of the Night was one of them. The Northern Wolves also had a long history, but gradually declined. Nowadays, new clubs are hardly established. The main reasons are threefold. First, the number of drivers and machine girls skilled enough to enter clubs is limited, and there's simply not enough to go around. Second, clubs are basically saturated, competing fiercely, making it impossible for new clubs to survive. And third, and most importantly, land is controlled by financial conglomerates represented by large clubs. To build a club, one must consider the whims of these conglomerates. If they perceive a threat, they won't allow new clubs to survive. Not only will they deny land access, but even if one is lucky enough to acquire land, they will suppress resources. Without resources like tuners, coaches, and drivers, no matter how much funding there is, the club would just be a shell, unable to develop. Many have tried to break through the violent monopoly of the conglomerates, but without exception, they all failed. So, it turns out that the reason Li Yini and the others were willing to leave with Su Chun was because Su Chun and James wanted to establish a new club? Su Yunfeng scoffed. It seems this was premeditated. He previously attributed all the faults to that phone call. Now he thinks differently. After all this time, it turns out that Li Yini and others had long been contemplating betrayal and leaving. What more is there to say about a group that eats from both sides? Su Yunfeng leaned back in his chair, his expression shifting unpredictably. Boss, what should we do? Another message popped up. We don't need to do anything. Just watch the show. Su Yunfeng replied with his phone. Should we still invite Li Yini and the others back? No need. Su Yunfeng smirked. Establishing a club isn't that easy, even with Master James's support. No matter how capable Master James is, can he break the monopoly and oppression of the financial conglomerates? They will come back on their own. Su Yunfeng said confidently, putting down his phone. Perhaps Su Chun painted a sweet dream for Li Yini and the others. But a dream is ultimately just a dream. When faced with harsh reality, it will only shatter. He could almost envision the scene where Su Chun and James fail to establish the club, and Li Yini and others find themselves in a dead end. Begging to return to the Northern Wolves. Leaving the Northern Wolves is easy, but wanting to come back? Huh. Su Yunfeng calmly took a sip of tea. His anger regarding Manager Wang's matter suddenly vanished. Now, he was just waiting to see the show, and to see Li Yini come knocking on his door. Chapter 242. Bidding site currently. There are over 100 plots of land being auctioned nationwide, of which 32 can be used for club construction. After a round of filtering, only 7 meet our requirements. Gino tapped on a small blackboard. These 7 plots satisfy 3 conditions. First, they are not controlled by the Night Voice Group. Second, the plots are large enough to meet the standards for building training facilities and are located in semi-suburban areas, meaning they are neither too remote to be inconvenient nor too close to busy areas to be noisy and congested. Third, they allow for easy expansion and planning. Among these 7 plots, 2 are idle plots from the Link Co. Pharmaceutical Group, 1 is from the Glory Star Group, and the remaining 4 are freely bid plots not owned by club real estate developers. Our target is those 4 freely bid plots. Gino continued. As long as we purchase one of them, the first step to establishing the club will be completely fine. It sounds simple, but is difficult to implement. James crossed his arms, his brow furrowed. We've already released our message. Qin Xin is very likely to compete with us for the land. For the Night Voice Group, competing for a plot is merely a drop in the bucket, costing them nothing. Qin Xin shouldn't be that narrow-minded, right? Gino scratched his head. Based on his understanding of Qin Xin, although she is cold-blooded, she values her reputation greatly, preferring to crush her opponents head-on in both competitions and business rather than resorting to underhanded tactics. So when the incident in Shanghai happened, Qin Xion's first reaction was to suppress the news. He was given many benefits directly and subsequently promised a whole lot more. Just the direct benefits alone were enough for him to live several lifetimes without spending it all. However, at that time, he was completely obsessed with Shanghai and regarded the compensation offered by Qin Xin and the Night Voice Group as worthless. It's hard to say. James shook his head. That crazy woman is unpredictable. In any case, let's go take a look tomorrow, Su Chen decided. I just want to see how many people are still willing to go against us when they know we can produce revolutionary modification cores. Even if we can't secure a piece of land, we still have a fallback. What's the fallback? Kino and James asked in unison. Your training ground. Su Chen glanced at Kino. Did you forget? Oh right. Kino slapped his forehead. Why didn't I think of that? I still have a training ground. Although it's a bit small, it meets the basic infrastructure requirements of the club. It's just that it lacks dormitories and office buildings. But those are not essential for the club and aren't under the association's review. With no worries, the atmosphere became much more relaxed. Su Chen took some time to talk with Li Yini and others. Surprisingly, Li Yini was even more optimistic than he had imagined. She believed that for Su Chen to create a modification core for a retractable wing was just a matter of flipping his hand, not to mention the help from James. So she directly took Dongxiong out to indulge. Sleeping during the day, going to nightclubs with Dongxiong at night, ordering a few girls to sing, and having some drinks. Life was delightful. Meanwhile, Yuming took chasing Shadow on a trip to nearby cities, determined not to return until the club was built, living carefree. Huang Shixuan and Chuan Yun found a training ground to practice, spending every day there. When asked if they were worried about not having a club in the future, this guy bluntly replied, Su Chun, don't make me look down on you. Well then, what else is there to say? The concerned parties weren't worried at all. As for Su Chun, who was leading the charge. He just needed to get things done. The next day, one of the freely bid plots of land was up for auction in K-City. Su-chan arrived early in the morning, accompanied by James and Kino. At 9 o'clock, bidders entered the venue, and the three sat in a corner. Master Su is truly a dragon among men, James remarked, looking at Su-chan, who sat between Xingming and Queen, unable to help but exclaim. Su-chan found it strange and turned to James. Why do you say that? James shook his head with a smile. When I was your age, I was just a trainee. I didn't even have half of your achievements. And the money I had wasn't enough to buy a toilet-sized plot of land. Su-chan nodded. I see, but I don't have money. What? No money? Kino was taken aback and stammered. Boss Su, you can't bid without paying. If you only bid and don't pay, not only will you be kicked out, but you'll also be blacklisted by other real estate developers in the future. I really don't have money, but I didn't say I wouldn't pay? Su-chan said, playing with the soft ears of Xingming, smiling, because someone is helping me pay. Who? Kino's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Su-chan had already found some mysterious financial supporter? That would indeed make sense. Su-chan's modification skills are extraordinary, and it's quite normal for someone to invest in him. Are they businessmen from other industries looking to enter the racing sector? James felt a chill at the back of his neck, a sense of foreboding welling up inside him. The threat was both distant and imminent. Su-chan nudged James. Old James, don't be silent. I know you have money. You're willing to contribute to the club, right? Master Su. All my money is for retirement, James replied, looking troubled. Oh, really? Su-chan's face showed a hint of regret as he sighed. I was going to help you with a nitrous acceleration modification core for your own research, but unfortunately, now we need money for bidding. Where can I find the funds to make that core now? He had just reclaimed the tender and juicy modification core yesterday. The old man had been upset all night. He knew how to break through the old man's defenses. Sure enough, James's expression changed. And he changed his tune. Money sitting in a cold bank is just a boring string of numbers. But if it's used as funds to build the club, it will continue to shine and create more miracles and legends. Compared to retirement, I am more excited about the occurrence of miracles. Gino thought, this is a clash of two old foxes. It's understandable for James to be the old fox, but why does Su-chan, who is significantly younger, also give off the feeling of an old fox? Gino found it puzzling. Stuck between these two, he felt too naive. A figure in a black tailored suit walked into the venue, catching Gino's attention. His eyes narrowed, and he pulled on Su-chan's arm. Boss Su, look. Su-chan and James followed his gaze. The newcomer was Chin Xin, the president of the Voice of the Night group. Her gaze also swept over. As their eyes met, a chilling aura rose in the hall. It was over. Gino and James both had this thought in their minds. Chin Xin was here. The Voice of the Night group had more land than it could use, and hadn't bid for new land in the past 2 years. The only reason for Chin Xin's appearance here was to deliberately seize the land. She wanted the new club to fail. However, Su-chan remained calm. Even when locking eyes with Chin Xin, his expression showed no sign of disturbance. As a large group, the Voice of the Night surely had its own bidding position. But instead of sitting at the front, Chin Xin walked straight to Su-chan and the others. Her gaze swept past Su-chan and Queen, glanced at Gino with uncertainty, and finally fixed on James. James, I'm giving you a chance to return to the group. Even with Richard, you can still serve as the chief of the night team. You will have better salary and benefits than before. Don't mess with that new club of yours. It won't get off the ground, so don't even think about it. Chin Xin was always straightforward, and she had no intention of sparing James's feelings. As for Su-chan, current speculation from think tanks suggests that he and James should be senior brothers from the same school, having the same modification master. In terms of qualifications, James is definitely more experienced than Su-chan. However, it is unclear why the core technology for the adjustable tail wing modification initially appeared in Su-chan's hands. After leaving the organization, James immediately produced a better adjustable tail wing modification core. This action led Chin Xin to believe that James was intentionally reluctant to share the technology for the adjustable tail wing modification core with the organization, indicating that his departure had been planned for a long time. With the news of James wanting to establish a club, Chin Xin became fully convinced of her judgment. James already possessed the technology for the adjustable tail wing modification core. He simply wanted to leave the organization and operate independently. Mr. Chin, your organization is large and influential. You can find all kinds of top modification experts. There's no need to cling to an old man like me, right? James frowned, his expression darkening. Whether I can establish a club has nothing to do with you. Just manage your own group. Or you could sell me the technology for the adjustable tail wing modification core and the nitrous acceleration modification core. Chin Xin seemed to ignore James's words and said slowly, the price will definitely satisfy you and your master behind you. James believed that Chin Xin could offer an impressive price. However, the core issue was that he was not the creator of the modification core. He still didn't grasp the key points of the complete adjustable tail wing modification core technology. Suchin hadn't told him, and he couldn't comprehend it on his own. Was Qin Xian's behavior here not akin to playing a lute to a cow? And a wrong cow at that. Mr. Qin, the bidding is about to start, James said coldly. Please return to your seat. Upon hearing this, the calm and indifference on Qin Xian's face finally froze. You will regret this, she said faintly. Suchun and James had already anticipated what would happen in the upcoming bidding. Today, the land was not located in a prime area of K-City, so the price per square meter was not high. If it were a normal bidding price, it would be well within James's range. What could originally be purchased for around 30 million was suddenly pushed up to 50 million by Qin Xian. And when it appeared that James wanted to raise the price further, Qin Xian simply stopped pretending. 100 million. Just sign the contract. The developer glanced at Su Chun and James, seeing that they had no intention of bidding further, and happily signed the contract with Qin Xian. Originally expected to sell for less than 30 million, the land was now sold for 3 times that amount, 100 million. Could anything be more delightful than this? Many people thought Qin Xian was foolish, a complete loser. But Qin Xian herself didn't care. She just wanted to make James unhappy. I told you. You would regret this. Before leaving, she made sure to walk up to James and Su Chun, her expression indifferent. My intelligence organization will closely monitor your movements. You won't be able to buy any land in the area. Other tycoons won't sell to you either. Want to establish a new club? Of course. Finally, she changed the subject. James, whenever you have a change of heart, our group will not hold a grudge and will welcome you back at any time. After Qin Xian finished speaking, she left. James, at his age, felt his face turn red with anger. Looking at Su Chun beside him, he felt nothing but regret and fury. I'm sorry, Master Su Chun. Although I have a bit of money, it's still insignificant compared to a giant like the group. She raised the price, and I had no way to deal with it. What exactly does Qin Xian want? Is she determined to create obstacles for us? Gino clenched his fists, gritting his teeth. He understood all too well the helplessness when crushed by capital and conglomerates. In fact, his current predicament was awakening all the humiliations he had suffered in the past. When he fought for rights in Shanghai, he had also been ruthlessly suppressed by the group. Public opinion, driven by capital, completely tilted in favor of them, turning white into black and black into white. Those who once spoke up for him either vanished from the discourse or were silenced by some mysterious force. In the end, he and Shanghai could only fall into a deep abyss with no way out. It was precisely because he had experienced that feeling of helplessness that he felt an immense rage at this moment. 10 years ago, the group was like this. 10 years later, it was still the same. Are ordinary people without background or identity destined to live under the oppression of these conglomerates? Hey! Qin Xian's figure paused at the door. The voice came from Su Chun. She looked puzzled and turned to glance at Su Chun beside James. This young man was still sitting there, seemingly calm and even a bit composed, unlike the anger on James's and Gino's faces. Qin Xian couldn't help but feel a bit dazed. It seemed like she hadn't seen Su Chun for many years, but upon reflection, it was just over a month. However, the aura around Su Chun had completely changed from before, like a sword that had finally sharpened. Ms. Qin, do you think that as long as you own the group, you can monopolize everything if you wish? Qin Xian looked at Su Chun in surprise and laughed. Isn't that possible? Su Chun also smiled. Qin Xian's smile was one of confident assurance, while his was filled with mockery and disdain. Your monopoly has ended, Su Chun said lightly. From now on, I will monopolize you and the group. Su Chun's smile made Qin Xian squint. For a moment, she didn't understand the meaning behind his words. However, she sensed the sarcasm and disdain in his tone. Indeed, Su Chun had managed to restart Queen and achieve decent results in the competition. But compared to the group, what was Su Chun? In comparison to her, what did he amount to? Su Chun was still preparing for the provincial competition, and there was even a question of whether he could participate. Meanwhile, she had been competing at the national level for years, aiming for the world championship. Clearly, the two were not on the same level, not from the same world. Why did he look at her with such eyes? Qin Xian felt confused, but very displeased. She didn't say anything, just gave Su Chun a deep, lingering look. Stepping out of the hall, she took out her phone and issued a single command: to preemptively connect with those real estate developers and buy up all the land that Su Chun and James had their eyes on. I want to see how they plan to turn the tables. In the following days, Su Chun did not participate in any land bidding. This was because all the plots that met his criteria had been purchased in advance by a powerful entity, making the bidding process merely a formality. It must be said that the financial resources and connections of this entity were indeed formidable. Years ago, a certain competitor had faced significant setbacks and, after a decade of struggle, their losses were well-deserved. Knowing that he couldn't acquire any land, Su Chun found himself surprisingly relaxed. He spent these days preparing for the Star God's Secret Realm. The Star God's Secret Realm was akin to a special dungeon in a game, only open at specific times. At least in Su Chen's eyes, it was similar to a dungeon designed for farming certain materials. The Star God's secret realm appeared at the end of each quarter around the world. Some of these realms would definitely appear, while others were random. The locations of the Star God's secret realms were typically sites of popular racing events or significant incidents from a century ago. For example, the Star Dream currently possessed a stigmata called Emperor Engine. This stigmata set comprised 5 pieces, and the realm that produced this set was the Panlong Mountain secret realm. A century ago, Panlong Mountain was a venue for provincial racing events, but a catastrophic attack led to a large-scale collapse of the downhill section of the track. The Panlong Mountain track could not be repaired and was rendered obsolete. However, the upper section of the Panlong Mountain track became infused with the will of the Star God, generating the Star God's secret realm, which refreshes regularly and appears at the entrance of the uphill segment at the end of each quarter. Challengers entering the realm could obtain rare mineral veins, but the top prize was the Emperor Engine stigmata set. Now, this Star God's secret realm would only exist for 3 days before the next quarter rolled around. While it was entirely possible to acquire other stigmata for Star Dream, Su Chen still hoped to secure a 2-piece Emperor Engine stigmata set, as this would significantly enhance Star Dream compared to randomly purchasing another Starlight stigmata. However, according to his understanding, the Panlong Mountain secret realm was one of the high-difficulty realms, primarily recommended for certain advanced challengers. Moreover, even successful challenges did not guarantee the core stigmata rewards. To date, no one has fully understood the mechanism behind the rewards of Starlight stigmata in the Star God's secret realm. It seemed that whether one received the Emperor Engine stigmata set had little to do with the challenger's strength, as even world-class drivers could leave empty-handed, only receiving ordinary Starlight stigmata, or Omega, or as rewards. Su Chen, however, did not dwell on these concerns. He simply wanted to take Star Dream to experience it for themselves. If they were fortunate enough to obtain the Emperor Engine stigmata, that would be even better. If not, it was no big deal. However, he is not in a hurry to establish the club. Some people, however, are more anxious than he is. James is leveraging his connections, while Kino is running around. Li Yini heard that the Night Voice Group was suppressing the purchase of land and came to talk to Su Chen several times, intending to comfort him and relieve his pressure. To her surprise, she found Su Chen appearing completely unfazed. Now, Su Chen is no longer anxious. Instead, she begins to feel anxious herself. Sometimes she wonders what if the club is not established before the provincial competition? Does that mean she can only challenge the provincial competition next year? During this time, Manager Wang specifically came to find Li Yini. He meant to apologize for the previous incident and explained that it was a misunderstanding. The Northern Wolves greatly appreciate these players and hope they can return, with all conditions and resources open for negotiation. If this had been said to Li Yini before, she would have been overjoyed, believing her efforts had finally paid off, and that the contributions of the Northern Wolves T2 had caught the headquarters' attention. But now, she has already decided to follow Su Chen. So what's the point of saying this now? Good horses don't eat back grass. Moreover, she doesn't believe returning would lead to any good treatment. So she directly told Manager Wang to get lost. As expected, Manager Wang lost his composure and started cursing at her door, only to be knocked into submission by Dong Xiong, who knocked out 2 of his front teeth. The machine girl cannot harm humans. But that doesn't include pulling teeth or physical corrections. Just when Su Chen was preparing to use Kino's training ground as a base for his endeavors, a strange number called him. Su Chen couldn't recall giving his phone number to anyone. Upon answering, a man's voice came through. Mr. Su, hello. I heard you've been troubled about purchasing land recently. Who are you? Su Chen frowned. In his previous life, he only shared his contact information with attractive women. In this life, he hadn't leaked it out either. How did the other party know his number? The feeling of having his privacy exposed made him quite uncomfortable. I am Faradi, the president of Pinnacle Future, said the man on the other end, his magnetic voice tinged with a hint of amusement. Do you remember giving your contact information to a driver named Lin Weiwei? Oh, Su Chen recalled. He maintained the habit of only sharing his contact information with attractive women from his previous life. At that time, Lin Weiwei had invited him to switch to the Glory Pinnacle Club. He had sweet-talked the girl for a while and even provided his number because she was pretty. It wasn't that he had any thoughts about Lin Weiwei. He just wanted his social circle to be visually appealing. I remember Lin Weiwei, he nodded. Curiously, he asked, so? Mr. President of Pinnacle Future, why are you calling me all of a sudden? That woman Chin Xin bought the land you wanted. But I have a piece of land here that I can sell to Mr. Su at a low price. Seeing that Faradi was also straightforward, Su Chen replied directly. What's the price? Haha, Mr. Su is straightforward. Our goal at Pinnacle Future is to completely take down the Night Voice and Glory Star, becoming the undisputed #1 club in the region. For this, we need the help of Mr. Su and Master James. You want the core for the adjustable wing modification. Su Chen narrowed his eyes. He actually didn't mind selling the adjustable wing modification core. Selling the core didn't mean selling the technology. Moreover, he had better technology. As long as he maintained a technological edge, these clubs would remain continuously attracted to him, allowing him to stay in a dominant position. That's right. I hope to collaborate with you and Master James. You want the core technology? Will you give it to us? No, haha. As if anticipating Su Chen's answer, Ferrati laughed exaggeratedly. Then sell us the core. He continued. However, I have a condition. If you sell the modification core to us, you cannot sell it to the Night Voice and Glory Star. Alternatively, you can only sell them a stripped-down version of the adjustable wing modification core. Mr. Ferrati is quite ambitious. Su Chen chuckled. Likewise. Haha. Although the two were on the phone, they seemed to see each other's sly smiles. Deal. Su Chen nodded. This was the first time he had made such a pleasant transaction since coming to this world. In Chapter 245, I'll teach you the burning formula tonight. Su Chen and Ferrati chatted a bit more. If Ferrati wanted Pinnacle Future to become the undisputed #1 club in the region, that meant the T1 team of Pinnacle Future had to win championships in national competitions, shattering the championship dreams of the Night Voice and Glory Star T1 teams. Su Chen also asked a question. Aren't you afraid that selling the land to us will make us the next threat? Ferrati laughed boldly. A strong team will never fear the emergence of new opponents. If there are stronger opponents, isn't that a kind of fortune? Regardless of how much substance there is in Ferrati's answer, it sounded pleasant to Su Chen, and he initially recognized Ferrati's vision as a national-level driver. If Ferrati truly had such a demeanor, then his current achievements were completely understandable. Master Su, someone is selling land to us? James and Kino looked at Su Chen eagerly. Su Chen didn't use speakerphone, so they could only hear muffled sounds and Su Chen's responses to guess the content of the conversation. Yes. Su Chen smirked slightly. Can you guess who is selling this land? James and Kino exchanged glances, puzzled. They first ruled out all club groups, leaving only some real estate developers. They guessed it might be a developer who hadn't put the land up for sale, secretly passing it on to Su Chen because they appreciated his talent. After speculating for a long time and getting it all wrong, Su Chen didn't continue to keep them in suspense. The boss and chief driver of Peak Future, Ferrati, is quite a character. Su Chen looked at James and asked, do you have any impression of this driver? James raised an eyebrow. He's the captain of Peak Future's T1 team, a seed team for the National League Championship. It's rumored that he's headstrong and unsociable, implementing oppressive policies on club members and staff. In short, he's not a good person. I can't believe he's willing to sell us the land. Is there a catch? By the way, Master Su, what are his conditions? The exclusive selling rights for the core modification of the adjustable rear wing, Su Chen replied, not that limited-use version. He added, it can only be sold to their club and not to others. If it must be sold to other clubs, it can only be the limited version, like the ones you made. Hearing this, James felt a bit embarrassed. What do you mean by the version you made being limited? He mainly didn't know the technical details. If he did, creating a version without usage limits would be completely feasible. So did you agree? Su Chen nodded, of course. James looked worried. How are we going to compete with Peak Future Club then? Master Su, this is a very strong club, even stronger overall than the Night Voice group. Although their T1 team is slightly weaker than Night Voice's Night Demon team. Providing the latest core technology to such a team would be detrimental to our club's future development. Su Chen found it amusing to see James so far-sighted. The club hadn't even been established yet, and he was already worried about competing with a national-level team. A true lion does not fear challengers outside its pride, Su Chen said, his eyes deep as he continued. James, you must understand that there will always be stronger opponents. What we need to do is to improve ourselves, making ourselves stronger than everyone else, not to worry about others getting stronger. As long as we keep progressing, even if one day we are defeated by an opponent, we still have the ability to make a comeback. Besides, how do you know we can't stay ahead in modification core technology? James opened his mouth to speak. He wanted to say that no one could guarantee to always be ahead in technology. Who could be that confident? But when he met Su Chen's confident gaze, he swallowed his words. A month ago, he couldn't have imagined that something like the adjustable rear wing could be invented. When he thought the adjustable rear wing modification core was the pinnacle of revolutionary progress in modifications, the nitrogen acceleration system, which completely shattered traditional functional modification cores, emerged. Both of these epic-making modification cores came from this young man in front of him. What seemed impossible became possible with Su Chen. Or rather, Su Chen himself was an unpredictable genius. Old James, are we still continuing our bet? Su Chen's sudden question brought James back to reality. Are you referring to Su Che and Feng He? Yes. James was somewhat dissatisfied, but you must teach me the core technical details of the adjustable tail wing modification, right? Otherwise, no matter how I trained Su Che and Feng He, I could never be your match. All right. Su Chen chuckled. After all, he had to sell the adjustable tail wing modification core externally. If he couldn't handle it alone, he might as well do it tonight and teach you the technique. James had no idea what Su Chen meant by the technique, but that didn't stop him from being so excited that his hands and feet trembled. The real core technical details of the adjustable tail wing modification? After waiting so long, was the veil finally about to be lifted? Rumor had it that the inflexible and unsociable Ferrati was at least someone with high efficiency. That afternoon, Su Chun received the core documents for the land transfer. He didn't even need to visit Ferrati's club. He just needed to sign the documents. And then a designated person would transport them by helicopter to the corresponding agency for filing. He would only need to transfer the money to the appropriate account. And then that piece of land would be his. The total price was 50 million. Ferrati said half price and truly offered it at half price. This land was larger and in a better location than the one he had seen today. If purchased normally, the transaction price would be at least 1.2 billion. The money was provided by James. The old man had been mumbling about his pension all afternoon, and Suchin figured he wouldn't settle down until he took out the technique that night. The land was in Beihai City, 2 large provinces away from City K, which meant they would be relocating. Although he was reluctant to leave the apartment where they had lived for so long, the thought of moving to a city facing the sea made both Xingming and Queen look forward to it. Additionally, regarding the land purchase, Su Chun and Ferrati decided not to make it public. The Peak Future Group would provide cover for the land development until the club was fully built and passed the association's review. Even with the vast intelligence system of the Night Voice Group, Qin Xin would not be able to obtain any concrete information. This not only prevented any ill-intentioned individuals from meddling during the club's construction, but also satisfied Su Chin's desire to give Qin Xin and the Night Voice Group a surprise. Ferrati was also preparing to give Qin Xin a surprise during the next national-level qualifiers. At 9 o'clock that evening, Su Chun called James into the modification room. Looking at the restless old man in front of him, Su Chun prepared to conduct a test. He wanted to see if James could formulate a modification core with special effects after learning all the technical details of the adjustable tail wing modification. Chapter 246. James's first time, a genius's idea. Incredible, Master Su. How does your mind work? I never would have thought these nodes could be combined like this. A mere blue modification core has even more data nodes than a purple core. Truly the adjustable tail wing modification core. James spoke excitedly, amazed. Su Chun could only look on helplessly. After he explained the core technical details of the adjustable tail wing modification to James, the old man seemed astonished, as if he had never seen the world. Master Su, your arrangement of these data nodes and matrices is so advanced and imaginative. Many of them are beyond my imagination. Previously, I could never connect them, but now they overlap and produce new effects. Amazing. He shook his head and sighed. I thought I could learn it immediately just by knowing the technical details, but it seems I need to digest it more carefully. What James referred to as carefully digesting meant a solid 4 to 5 hours of silence. During this time, Su Chun had nothing to do and chatted with Xingming. Earlier, Xingming told him that Yuming bought a lot of beautiful pajamas for Zhu Ying and even sent pictures. When Su Chun saw them, he was taken aback by the revealing designs, the sheer fabric, and the cow-patterned ones with tails and bells. These pajamas are quite something. Yuming is living well. However, since Xingming sent them, it meant she liked them too. So he generously bought more than 10 pieces for Xingming, even bolder than what Yuming had chosen. Now, it was just right for Xingming to try them on one by one for him. This little girl was not only obedient, but also very patient. During James's time of contemplation, she changed into one outfit after another and even took videos. Su Chun savored the moment while saving the videos in a private album. The last one she tried was a black sheer nightgown. The delicate straps lightly rested just below Xingming's collarbone, and the V-neck's edge was adorned with intricate lace. The sheer black fabric cascaded down from her chest, extending to her legs, subtly outlining her slender waist and the soft glow of her body. As the light fell, when Xingming turned slightly, the gown swayed, her skin glistening like ivory, appearing hazy and alluring amidst the black fabric. Su Chun was mesmerized. Looks good. You have to wear this tonight. He quickly replied. Understood, meow. Xingming sent a salute cat emoji. Su Chun was about to ask her to send a few more angles to tease him when he suddenly heard a loud thud. James took a deep breath, finally raised his head, and placed the adjustable tail wing modification core on the table. Master Su, it's about time. I want to try making an adjustable tail wing modification core myself. He looked at Su Chun seriously, but Su Chin's eyes were still glued to his phone, and he replied somewhat dismissively. Oh, good luck. I believe in you. James noted the dismissive attitude, realizing that Master Su didn't seem to have much faith in him. However, he had completely mastered the details of making the adjustable tail wing modification core. He had to show Master Su his capabilities as an S-class modification master. James picked up a pre-prepared purple basic module and began working on it. 10 minutes later, he looked at the damaged materials with a twitch at the corner of his mouth. Let's try again. 10 minutes later, he failed once more. James felt that the quality of the materials might be a bit too high. He is just a beginner who has just learned. So aiming to create a purple quality modification core on the first try is somewhat ambitious. Let's lower the difficulty. Use blue quality materials to craft a blue quality modification core. 8 minutes later, failure. Try again, still a failure. After 10 consecutive failures, James fell silent. He couldn't even produce a white quality modification core using white quality materials. Clearly, he had done his best. After so many attempts, James felt a bit dizzy. Master Su, is the success rate for crafting this modification core a bit too low? Huh. Su Chun, without looking up, replied casually, not low at all. I can craft one with one hand. With that, he casually picked up a piece of blue quality material and, in less than 10 seconds, produced a blue quality modification core in front of James. James, what the heck? Is this a joke? Why can Su Chun do it so easily? Even if Su Chun is the inventor of this modification core, it shouldn't be that effortless, right? James felt as if his worldview, built over decades, was collapsing at this moment. If you really can't make it, try using high-quality materials to craft a lower-quality core, Su Chun hinted slightly. James's eyes were vacant. Already feeling a bit broken in spirit, he needed some encouragement. Although his mind wasn't fully engaged, part of his attention was still on James. He could basically see that even with knowledge of data nodes and matrices, there was still a significant gap between the modifiers of this world and his divine skills. The reason he couldn't succeed at once was clear only to him. It was because all the accessory specifications corresponding to the basic module were substandard, while the divine skills could instantly correct the accessories based on his ideas. For instance, correcting a truck tire-sized rim to a size suitable for racing. However, such corrections were not visible on the basic module. Everything was based on his deep understanding of various components as the top modifier in his region. James had neither divine skills nor such understanding. He only knew about data matrices and nodes, so whether he could craft a modification core depended on luck. And only when using a high-quality basic module to craft a lower-quality modification core, even if the accessory specifications were substandard, they would forcibly merge due to the lower quality, thus increasing the success rate of crafting the modification core. What you said can indeed improve the success rate, but it's a bit humiliating for me, James sighed. But he had no other choice. This time, he chose to use a purple-quality basic module to craft a blue-quality modification core. 10 minutes later, a modification core emitting a faint blue glow appeared in his hand. Success! Finally, James was so excited that his lips trembled. Although it was made from high-quality materials, at least this modification core was a complete version without usage restrictions. Let me see. Su Chun took the modification core from James's hand, his eyes narrowing slightly. The Eye of God quietly operates. Let's generate some power. Everyone QAQ Chapter 247. The Butcher. This is indeed a blue-quality lift tail wing modification core, no doubt about it. But it has negative attributes of -3 speed and -2 stability. Other than that, there's nothing else. No positive performance enhancements at all. The beloved special effects are also completely absent. Su Chun blinked and couldn't help but show a bit of disdain on his face. How can this even be considered a modification core? If it were installed on Star Dream or Queen, he would feel it was a desecration, a lack of respect. How is it, Master Su? What do you think of this modification core? Su Chun curled his lips and returned the modification core to James. You can take a look for yourself. James took the modification core, analyzed it briefly, and nodded with a sense of satisfaction. Not bad, there's no limit on usage. But it does consume a lot of mental energy and the material cost is quite high. However, considering this thing is sold at a high price, the material consumption doesn't really matter. A perfect core. Perfect my foot. Su Chun rolled his eyes. Look at mine, then look at yours? Forget it. I shouldn't have such high expectations of you. Since that's the case, your lift tail wing modification core will be for sale. And mine will be used by the Club S Machine Girls. I can't have every modification core be so average. James protested. This is the first lift tail wing modification core I crafted. It's normal for it to have some flaws. If you don't believe me, I can make a few more. Even though he had already spent a hefty sum, James was still very wealthy. Besides having money, he also had a warehouse full of materials that seemed almost endless. He was determined to create a modification core that would impress Su Chun. An hour later, James looked at the 5 lift tail wing modification cores in front of him and fell into a long silence. Of these 5 cores, 4 were blue, and 1 was purple. The 4 blue modification cores all had varying degrees of performance reduction, with no performance enhancements, only possessing the lift tail wing function. The last purple quality modification core, which he had spent a fortune to craft, also had no performance reduction or enhancement, only featuring the lift tail wing function. He looked at the blue quality lift tail wing modification core crafted by Su Chun with a hint of existential doubt. Turn 3, Speed 2, Stability 1, Endurance 1. Now that's what a normal blue quality modification core should have in terms of data. So what did he create? Just trash? Woo-woo. James covered his face and cried. He really couldn't hold it in anymore. Su Chun wanted to comfort James, but he had no way to help. He had already imparted all the technical details of the lift tail wing modification core, every data point and matrix, without holding anything back. Yet, even as an S-class modification master, James couldn't produce cores of the same level as his. What could he do? The hand of God is his ability, and it cannot be transferred to James. At the same time, Su-chun is completely certain of one thing. There is no modification technician in this world who can compare with him. He is unique, especially in terms of special attributes, which can only be found in the modification cores he personally creates. Currently, the special features seem unrelated to competitions, mostly catering to daily needs. But what about the future? As more and more special features emerge, perhaps some will have an impact on competitions. Don't be sad, old James. After pondering for a while, Su-chun finally came up with an explanation. The adjustable rear wing modification core is indeed a special functional modification core. Therefore, it doesn't work like other modification cores, where using better materials will yield good performance. There are other secrets involved. What secrets? James looked at Su-chun eagerly. Practice makes perfect, Su-chun replied, shaking his head. You must be sufficiently skilled to increase the probability of producing excellent cores. So from now on, you should make more adjustable rear wing modification cores. Not only will it meet the peak future team's requirements for adjustable rear wings, but it will also better hone your skills. I see. James nodded seriously, believing him. Master Su, rest assured, from now on, whenever I have time, I will make adjustable rear wing modification cores to improve my proficiency. In the future, I will definitely create a modification core on par with yours. Su-chun smiled, but internally he sighed. James might never be able to create a modification core like his. Nevertheless, he encouraged, proficiency is a rather abstract concept, so don't rush it. Hard work will definitely pay off. He added in his heart, for example, money and fame are forms of reward. At the headquarters of the Night Voice, has there been any movement from Su-chun and James in the past few days? Qin Xian put down the documents regarding the first modification of the Night Hoof, his gaze sharp. President Qin, Su-chun and James have given up on purchasing land. The assistant, noticing Qin Xian's foul mood, cautiously said, under our control, they can't buy suitable land at all. I estimate that in the end, Su-chun and James will use Kino's training ground to establish a club. Well, that was expected. Qin Xian nodded. Kino's training ground has many inadequate facilities, but it shouldn't be a major issue to start a club initially. However, they will definitely face many problems later, and with a little manipulation, we can make it so they cannot participate in provincial competitions. But my goal isn't to prevent them from establishing a club. They could establish 100 clubs, and it wouldn't pose any threat to the Night Voice. My goal is to make James understand that opposing the Night Voice has no good outcome. If he knows what's good for him, he should hand over the adjustable rear wing technology sooner. You're absolutely right. The assistant admired Qin Xian's strategy. What about other clubs? Any movements? Qin Xian ignored the assistant's flattery. Yes. The Glory Star T2 won the championship in the first round of the national qualifiers, and the T3's reserve chief, a driver named Yi Guanlan, has gone into seclusion for secret training with the Mech girl. Oh, and the Peak Future Club has sold a piece of restricted land. Oh. Qin Xian was taken aback and raised an eyebrow, asking, Peak Future isn't short on money, so why sell land? What is it for? According to the investment plan, it seems to be for building a foot massage center and a hot spring, the assistant replied. Well, that is fine then. Qin Xian continued to look down at the report on YT. Although the main source of funds for the large group comes from a series of manufacturing, advertising, and training associated with competitive events, it is quite normal for them to occasionally invest in entertainment, such as building hotels, hot springs, and footbath centers. Go call Ayano over, he instructed, and the assistant left promptly. A little while later, Ayano walked in, looking somewhat pale. President Qin, I haven't seen ET for 3 days, and I'm really worried. He knew that ET was undergoing modifications by the night team. But every time he tried to enter the modification room, he was turned away. ET is doing well, Qin Xian said, handing over the modification report. You can see her this afternoon. In the initial phase after modification, she might be a bit disoriented, which is completely normal. Just talk to her a bit. She'll generally recover in about 2 hours. Ayano looked at the performance report of ET. The burst capability was slightly compressed, but cornering, stability, and speed had all improved. Hearing that he could see ET in the afternoon finally put his mind at ease. Once ET's performance is enhanced, you'll need to participate in a race to adapt to her capabilities. Also, since ET has activated the dual relic slots, I recommend you run in the upcoming Panlong Mountains Star God Mystery Realm. This way, you can adapt to ET's performance and also see if you can obtain a high-quality relic. Qin Xian paused, his hands clasped under his chin. I don't know if you've heard of the Emperor Engine Amethyst level relics. This set is particularly compatible with speed and burst-type machine girls. Even if you only manage to get one piece, it can greatly enhance ET. Ayano shook his head. The relics I'm currently using for ET are all of porcelain quality. I haven't even heard of Amethyst level. That is too advanced for me to imagine. However, since Qin Xian spoke so highly of it, he felt compelled to check it out. I'll have a member of the night team accompany you since it's your first time in the Star God Mystery Realm, and you might not be aware of the situation inside. Qin Xian crossed his legs and twirled a pen in his hand. You should know that, driver. People outside call him the Butcher. Ayano's pupils constricted at the mention. The Butcher. It's him. In the night team. Not everyone with a special title is the strongest, but those with titles are definitely not easy to deal with, and are quite famous. This fame can be good or bad, and the Butcher, of course, has a notorious reputation. He and his machine girl are known for their reckless and aggressive style, specializing in explosive and stability-enhancing Thunder Star Emblem machine girls. Qin Xian actually let the Butcher take him? The thought of those rumors about the Butcher sent a chill down Ayano's spine. However, his desire for the amethyst-level sacred mark was even stronger. May I ask, Mr. Qin, will winning the championship in the Stellar Secret Realm grant me that rare sacred mark? It's hard to say. Qin Xian shook his head. Because the opponent you face is the legendary Star God, and escaping from the Star God and the Mech Girls is quite difficult. Even if you come in first, it's not guaranteed that you will receive the Star God's recognition and be granted the sacred mark. Ayano saw a hint of unwillingness and regret in Qin Xian's expression. He couldn't help but entertain an absurd thought. Could it be that with Qin Xian's strength, he also failed to obtain that amethyst sacred mark in the Stellar Secret Realm? Chapter 247. That damn old man in the end. Ayano still did not ask that sensitive question. However, the Stellar Secret Realm was indeed an opportunity. After leaving Qin Xian's office, he carefully checked the database and discovered that the Emperor Engine Star Emblem Sacred Mark provided a terrifying boost to speed and explosiveness. Just equipping one piece of the Emperor Engine Sacred Mark could enhance the Mech Girl's speed performance significantly. It was hard to imagine what effects could be achieved if he managed to gather 2, 4, or even the entire set. It was said that some top-tier Star Emblem Sacred Marks would grant the Mech Girl powerful abilities similar to special skills once a complete set was assembled. Perhaps the Emperor Engine was one of those sacred marks. However, for a century, no one had managed to collect the entire set, and all existing Emperor Engine Star Emblem Sacred Marks on the market were scattered pieces, with no one willing to sell them. Valuable, yet unsellable. The latest Emperor Engine Star Emblem Sacred Mark was drawn from a capsule toy machine at the Stellar Heil store by someone lucky. Thinking of this made Ayano furious. What kind of luck was that? I hope I don't run into that lucky person. In the afternoon, Ayano met with Yi. She sat in a pale room, turned sideways towards him, gazing at the daffodils on the windowsill. For some reason, seeing this scene made his heart tremble, and guilt surged like a tidal wave. He walked over to Yi, trembling slightly as he reached out to touch her shoulder. Master? Yi turned her head. Her complexion was pale, and her eyes seemed somewhat vacant. Yi, how are you feeling? I'm okay. Yi nodded. Just a bit dizzy. Sometimes memories that don't belong to me pop up in my head, but some are related to you and me. I can't distinguish which ones are mine and which ones are others. However, this feeling of disorientation is gradually diminishing. You don't have to worry. At this point, Yi smiled. It's just a minor side effect. In any case, my performance has indeed improved significantly. Ayano hugged Yi tightly, feeling somewhat relieved. It's good that you're okay. Let's work hard for the next competition. Although these modifications can quickly enhance performance, I prefer to limit them a bit. It makes me uneasy. Yi leaned against Ayano's shoulder and whispered, the second round is in a week, and we have to go through 4 rounds of modifications before the provincial qualifiers begin. Only then will the entire modification plan be complete. 3 more rounds? Ayano's eyes widened. Yes. Yi gently patted Ayano's head. Didn't the boss say that he would ensure nothing goes wrong? So there's no need to worry. My performance has indeed improved. I can handle more complex tracks. I believe that once we complete the entire modification plan, no one will defeat us in the next competition. Seeing Yi-Ti's determined gaze and recalling Qin Xian's promise, Ayano could only nod in agreement. The modification plans of various clubs are rather aggressive, aiming to balance the performance of the machines so they can excel on different types of tracks. Currently, the only machine that has reportedly faced issues during modifications is Queen. All other machines, including the 2 under Qin Xian's command, are functioning normally. Besides, it's understandable that Queen had problems since she was violently modified by a former deputy chief of the night team. Ayano could only comfort herself with this thought. During Yi-Ti's modification period, he consulted many seniors, both from T1 and T2 teams, who spoke highly of the night team's modifications. These seniors reassured him, saying that Qin Xian would never deceive him. After all, he is the president, and the night team is a top-notch modification team in the Huazone. If there were issues at night, the risks would only increase at other clubs. He gradually felt more at ease. However, the words that Su Chan once told him echoed in his ears from time to time. You don't understand the voice of the night. Are you blind or deaf to the truth? Ignorance is a sin. Was he truly ignorant, or was something being concealed from him by the environment around him? This will be our development base in the future. Su Chun led the group to stand beneath a building, looking serious. The golden footprint? Li Yini glanced at the dilapidated sign and the deformed poster of a woman, her mouth twitching. Isn't this a foot massage parlor? Just a facade of a foot massage parlor. Su Chun chuckled dryly. To avoid being sabotaged by major groups like the Voice of the Night, I discussed with the owner of Pinnacle Future, Ferrati, and we decided to disguise this land as a foot bath center for now. When we're about to participate in the provincial qualifiers, we'll transform it into a genuine club. Great. Nuale gave a thumbs up, genuinely impressed. But how do we hide the training area? Su Chun remained silent, leading everyone to the front desk of the building, where they soon found a staircase leading down. Before long, a vast and empty underground space unfolded before their eyes. Do you know why the original price of this piece of land is 2 to 3 times more expensive than the surrounding land? Su Chun looked at the shocked expressions of everyone and smiled. This place is actually already in a semi-developed state. The company originally planned to build an underground training facility here. As for the remaining surface establishment, it's just not fully demolished yet. This underground space is large enough, and I've managed to borrow the construction team from the company, who will be able to complete the training facility in less than a month. Nuale's sister closed her dropped jaw and swallowed. Wait, Su Chun, where did you get so much money? ISNT, the dedicated construction team from the company, made up of logistics personnel? ISNT, that very expensive? You actually managed to rent them for a month. This brings us to our club sponsor, Mr. James. Mr. James walked out from behind the crowd, accompanied by Gino, removing his hat to reveal a head of silver hair. Although spending money makes him feel pained, he still smiled in the face of everyone's admiring gazes. It turns out this old man is our sponsor. Yu Ming's eyes widened in surprise as he exclaimed, then muttered quietly, I didn't recognize him with the hat on. I thought he was a janitor. Chasing Shadow, James, Su coughed. Boss, as the club sponsor, do I have the authority to dismiss a club member? Su Chun nodded. In theory, yes. But whether or not to dismiss them depends on my opinion. Then let us dismiss Yu Ming, James said with a serious expression. Su Chun smiled faintly. What is the reason? As a driver, insight is very important, James said with a stern face. But he mistook me for a janitor? This shows that this team member has almost no insight and lacks the basic qualities of a professional driver. I suggest he go back to being an amateur driver for a few years to gain some experience. Yu Ming. Damn, you old man. Chapter 248. What are you still expecting? Su Che, you performed very well in this race, showcasing the level of our Xingguan club drivers. In the company meeting, Su Che looked up at Su Lin, who was standing at the center, his eyes filled with disbelief. This was the first time he had heard Su Lin praise him since he entered the racing industry. No matter how hard he worked or what efforts he put in, as long as his results didn't meet Su Lin's expectations, he would face ridicule and suppression. Gradually, he had become accustomed to the high-pressure situation after races. So much so that he was stunned for a moment upon hearing Su Lin's words. What are you dawdling for? Come up and accept the applause. Su Lin glared at the motionless Su Che, a hint of displeasure flashing in his eyes. Oh, Su Che came to his senses, walked over to Su Lin, and felt a bit awkward under the applause coming from all directions, making it feel surreal. The ones applauding were the T1 and T2 team members, among whom the T1 team from Xingguan was participating in a national-level qualifying competition, while T2 was preparing for training for the national-level qualifiers, set to officially join the competition next year. These team members were people he looked up to and envied in the past, even though he didn't know how sincere the applause was. But Su Che still found great satisfaction in it. This sense of fulfillment was not driven by vanity, but rather by the recognition from others, apart from Feng He, and the acknowledgement from those who once looked down on him, making every cell in his body cheer. He was so elated that it lasted until the end of the meeting. Su Che was called into the office by Su Lin. This is your reward for winning 3rd place in the provincial qualifiers, a total of 500,000. Su Lin pushed a black suitcase towards Su Che. Isn't this a bit too much? Su Che stared at the suitcase in a daze. The reward from Su Lin was separate. He had already received the 3rd place prize from the organizers, and this personal reward didn't need to be handed over to the Star Crown Club. Normally, whether in T1 or T2, the cash prize for 3rd place was only 200,000. I'm your only brother, Su Lin said with a smile. What's wrong with giving you a little extra? Even if they find out, what can they say? Besides, you broke the record in this competition. It's just that I didn't expect your opponent to be so strong. I can see all of that. But, no buts, just accept it. Su Che felt a bit teary. Being cared for by Su Lin for the first time took him by surprise and almost brought him to tears. Okay. He nodded with a choked voice and accepted the suitcase. The money inside was heavy, but it could not compare to the solid feeling of being filled with familial affection. It turned out that Su Lin still cared for him as a brother. He was just a bit strict, But as the saying goes, a strict teacher produces outstanding students. If Su Lin hadn't been so strict with him, perhaps he wouldn't be where he was today? Suche was lost in thought. By the way, little brother, there's something I need your help with. Seeing that Suche accepted the money, Su Lin said directly, during the competition, you used the adjustable tail wing modification core, right? I remember this is the latest generation of functional modification core. I've been wanting to buy one, but had no way to get it. Where did you get this modification core? Suche fell silent, feeling troubled. He didn't know if he should mention Master James. I'm very disappointed. Seeing the hesitation on Suche's face, Su Lin's expression darkened. I am usually very strict with you, but I hope you can achieve results and not let our father down. I put my heart into this. When the club needs your help, you choose to hide and hesitate or just stand by? No, that's not it. Suche stammered but was cut off sternly again. I know without you saying. It's the S-level modification master, James, who helped you. Su Lin stared coldly at Suche, whose face gradually showed surprise and shock. Some information can be uncovered with a little investigation. Do you really think you can keep it hidden? I just wanted to see if you were aware and whether you thought of the club. But now, the result is very disappointing. Yes, seeing that Su Lin already knew. Suche no longer hid it. I did receive help from Master James. He gave me the adjustable tail wing modification core. What is your relationship with Master James? Su Lin asked. Suche recalled that kind face and nodded instinctively. Should be quite good? Suche. Su Lin's eyes held a hint of eagerness. The club needs your help. We need the core for the adjustable tail wing modification. Can you help me out? As long as we have the adjustable tail wing modification core, our T1 team might qualify for the national qualifiers and ultimately have a chance to compete in the national competition. With a little more effort, aiming for the top 3 is possible. Even if we don't win in the end, just making it to the national competition will elevate our club's reputation, allowing us to gain more support and resources. Others won't see Xingguan as just a second-tier club anymore. Su Lin's voice gradually rose, his fists clenched, and ambition sparkled in his eyes. However, Suche's heart grew colder, filled with disappointment and sadness as he looked into Su Lin's eyes. So you only want the adjustable tail wing modification core? Suche lowered his head, his voice hoarse. You have never acknowledged my achievements. Only the adjustable tail wing modification core on Fenghe, right? Su Lin chuckled awkwardly and shrugged. I didn't mean it that way. But your third place is indeed thanks to the adjustable tail wing modification core, and that's undeniable. The light in Suche's eyes dimmed even further. Su Lin wasn't wrong. Without the adjustable tail wing modification core, he might not have truly made it to the top 3. But had he and Fenghe not worked hard? What did a month of rigorous training count for? What about their synchronized efforts? In Su Lin's eyes, none of that mattered. All he saw was the adjustable tail wing modification core. Suche laughed bitterly, feeling ridiculous. What was he still hoping for from Su Lin? He looked up at his brother with unfamiliar eyes and said softly, I know what you want. I will try to negotiate this matter, but I'm not sure if Master James will agree. I can only say I will do my best. Just do your best. Su Lin didn't like the look in Suche's eyes now, but he forced a smile despite his anger. I promise you anything you want. You don't want to part with Fenghe, right? I can sign a contract with you. Fenghe is a contracted mech girl with Xingguan Club. I can bind her contract to you, so she will be entirely yours and not related to the club anymore. Fine, I want that. Suche took a deep breath, but his heart still felt uneasy. Let us sign it now. In exchange, I will try to secure a meeting with Master James for you. As for whether it will work out, that depends on you and your PR team. Free power generation, just click. Family, the plot is accelerating. Chapter 249, All Secrets. TCH. What's there to be proud of? It's South just 3rd place in the provincial qualifiers. I really don't know what the S-level modification master saw in him to be willing to let him use the latest technology modification core. How unfortunate. Suche left. Su Lin finally got to vent his dissatisfaction. Since childhood, Suche had always been submissive in front of him, working hard without complaint, because his achievements had always overshadowed Suche's, making him the most dazzling one in their father's eyes. This led Suche to live in a corner without any attention. Of course, this situation was also partly due to Su Lin's intentional actions. According to their father's will, the strongest driver in the Su family would inherit the mysterious legacy left behind. This legacy is protected by a trust company and notary for a period of 10 years. Within 10 years, whoever becomes the world champion first between him and Suche will receive the inheritance. If neither of them becomes a world champion within that time, the inheritance will be divided based on their achievements, with the one who has the most accomplishments naturally receiving it. Undoubtedly, in terms of achievements, Su Lin believes he has already upheld the club left by their father, while Suche has nothing to show for himself. Su Lin is preparing for national-level competitions in the race for the world championship, while Suche is merely a novice just entering the provincial qualifiers. Su Lin is used to his brother's obedience and timidity, so when Suche looks at him with cold eyes, he feels his authority is being challenged. If it weren't for his own needs regarding Su-che, he would have slapped him already. Just let him bask in his pride for a few more days. Once he gets the core for the adjustable tail wing modification, he will slowly deal with him. Su-lin mutters to himself, his gaze icy. Outside the office, Su-che leans against the door, tears streaming down his face, his eyes dead and gray. He never thought about competing with Su-lin for their father's inheritance. He just felt that the Su family was left with only him and his brother, and family should help each other, right? All along, he has held on to the hope that Su-lin's oppression might be a way to train and hone him. One day, when he finally achieves something, Su-lin would smile and say, "Little brother, you did great." However, now he realizes that the so-called family is just a joke, perhaps from the day he was born. In Su-lin's eyes, he has been nothing but a thorn in his side. He walked out of the office, initially just wanting to lean against the door for a moment to ease the feeling of being blocked inside. Now, however, he feels completely disappointed. Compared to that suffocating feeling, he now feels cold all over, as if he has suddenly become an orphan. The location for the club has been decided. The first thing to do is to celebrate, gather everyone for a meal, and discuss the new club's name, although it hasn't been registered yet. Su-chen believes that it won't be long before he can gather the remaining 2 teammates. As for the logistics team and infrastructure, those are not a concern. Selling the modification core will bring in money, and money can solve everything. Su-chen found a restaurant on the commercial street near the club. However, just as the dishes were served, James received a phone call. British heavy metal music suddenly blasted in the hall. James twitched at the corner of his mouth and pressed the phone down. Just 2 seconds after hanging up, the phone rang again. After this repeated 3 times, he could no longer endure it. "Everyone, please wait a moment. I need to take a call." "Huh?" James said, picking up his phone and walking outside the private room. His smile instantly fading. "Damn it, who is it? Don't they know that constantly calling is very impolite? What on earth is so important? Today, I want to just say a few words. I'll show you what it means to be a master of modifications." There was silence on the other end of the line. "Speak up. After calling so many times, are you mute?" Just as James was about to see who was calling for a direct confrontation, a voice with a clear hint of tears came through the phone. "Master James, I need your help. I'm really at my wit's end." Half an hour later, Su-che was flown over by James's butler in a private helicopter. Looking at the food on the table, his stomach couldn't help but growl. There were several familiar faces around the dining table, and their gazes made him feel like a stray dog. "Boss Su-che wants to discuss something with us," James said with some difficulty. You know his situation is quite special, so. Su-chen understood what James meant. If it were someone else, James would likely be reluctant to help. However, Su-che was an investment of James's, tied to their bet. Moreover, James genuinely had high hopes for Su-che and Feng-he. Talented, hardworking, and obedient. Who wouldn't he like someone like that? Su-che was taken aback when he heard James refer to Su-chun in such a manner. In his impression, shouldn't James be a senior to Su-chen? At the very least, Su-chen should be the one trying to curry favor with James. But in reality, it seemed that James even had a hint of flattery towards Su-chen. And why did James call Su-chen Basu? Su-che's mind was in a jumble. He felt like he had missed out on a massive amount of secrets without knowing it. Secrets that even Su-lin's intelligence organization couldn't uncover. And now, it seemed he was very close to these secrets. Su-che? Su-chan looked over the youthful figure before him. His machine girl, Feng-he, stood beside him, subtly indicating that she was there to protect him. This wasn't their first meeting. He still remembered their first encounter at the entrance of the Star God Hual shopping mall, when Xingming accidentally knocked off the holy mark he had just bought. The kid had even scolded Xingming then. They met again during a match, and Su-che left him with the impression of a spirited youth with a good relationship with his machine girl. But now, he looked like a wilted eggplant. Wasn't this kid supposed to have gotten third place in the provincial preliminaries? For a second-rate club like the Xingguan Club, it was already impressive for Su-che, as a T3 captain, to achieve third place. Yet, coming back to the club with such a result still couldn't satisfy Su-lin? "Let us eat first," Su-chen said, having heard Su-che's stomach growling. "Whatever it is, we can discuss it after we finish our meal." Su-che had initially wanted to stubbornly say he wasn't hungry and could discuss things first. He also felt embarrassed about mooching off someone else's meal. But under Su-chen's stern gaze, he inexplicably nodded and took a seat at an empty spot, sitting upright. Su-che was filled with shock and confusion. He couldn't understand what had happened in less than 3 months. Why had Su-chen changed so much? If it weren't for the appearance, voice, and the mech girl behind him being the same, he would have had a hard time recognizing him. Chapter 250. Otherwise. No discussion. Su-che anxiously shared his experiences and requests with Su-chen. Clearly, the core of this matter was related to a certain individual. But he didn't know why it ultimately turned into a report to Su-chen. Perhaps it was because everyone here seemed to revolve around Su-chen. After listening, Su-chen's frown gradually eased. He had previously thought that it wouldn't be long before the club members could gather. As it turned out, they had come directly to offer their support. Su-che and Feng-he were quite good, their frequencies aligned, indicating that they treated the mech girl well. And drivers who were good to the mech girls generally weren't too far off in skill. This was a very suitable combination to recruit for the new club. There was no need for a detailed meeting between the individual and Su Lin. Just as a disappointed look appeared on Su Che's face, Su Chun continued, "You can call now, or have your brother's people come to sign the contract. The first-generation version of the adjustable tail wing modification core can be sold to him." Huh. Su Che didn't expect such a turn of events. Moreover, Su Chun was surprisingly easy to negotiate with. They could sell it directly. He had thought there would be a lot of back and forth. However, Su Chun quickly added, "I have conditions. It depends on whether your brother can accept them." Su Che called Su Lin. Su Lin took this matter very seriously. Although Su Chun said they could discuss it over the phone, he immediately took a private helicopter to the place where Su Chun and the others were dining. However, by that time, the meal was already over, and Su Chun naturally would not treat Su Lin again. "Master, I have admired you for a long time. It's finally a pleasure to meet you in person. You look even more elegant than in the photos." Su Lin immediately shook hands with the individual. The individual pulled his hand away subtly with a grim expression, saying with a forced smile, "Admired for a long time? Then you must know me quite well. Can you tell me what modification cores I have released up to today?" The smile on Su Lin's face stiffened. To be honest, he had indeed admired the individual for a long time, but it wasn't this individual specifically. It was all S-Class modification masters represented by him. The club couldn't afford to pay S-Class modification masters salaries. Of course, even if they could afford it, those S-Class modification masters wouldn't come. At that level, modification masters also cared about their reputation. Going to a second-tier club to be the chief would only invite ridicule from their peers. However, before Su Che, Su Lin really didn't know much about this individual. He hadn't thought about being asked such a question when meeting him, leaving him momentarily at a loss. After a long pause, he cautiously managed to say, "Did you release the adjustable tail wing modification core? You're talking nonsense." The individual's spittle splattered onto Su Lin's face, accompanied by a strong garlic aroma. "When did I ever release the adjustable tail wing modification core? And you've admired me for so long? Who are you fooling?" Su Lin nearly fainted from the strange smell coming from James's mouth. He clenched his fists, his face turning pale with anger. But he had to force a reluctant smile. "Master James, please calm down. I usually focus all my energy on training and competitions, so I really don't know much about news in the modification industry. However, I have long heard of your reputation. I remember you were the chief modifier for the Knight's Voice group. That was quite impressive." James's mouth twitched, his eyes flashing with anger. If it weren't for the fact that he had other matters to attend to today, he would have had his bodyguards throw Su Lin out. "All right, that's enough," Su Chin said, tapping the table. "Mr. Su Lin, you're here to discuss cooperation, so there's no need for pleasantries." It was then that Su Lin noticed Su Chun sitting in the main seat, feeling puzzled. This wasn't right, was it? Wasn't his negotiation target Master James? What was Su Chin's role? What was the relationship between Su Chun and James? Su Lin had a faint feeling that the rumors about Su Chun being just a junior brother of James were probably not that simple. However, at that moment, he had no time to think deeply and had to sit down as Su Chin suggested. "Mr. Su Chin, you're right. Let's get straight to the point," Su Lin said, putting on a flattering expression that Su Che had never seen before. "I hope to get Master James's help. Our team needs the core modification for the adjustable rear wing, and we hope you can sell it to us. We can discuss the price." "Mr. Su Lin, you must understand that many clubs are looking for the adjustable rear wing core," Su Chun said leisurely. "These clubs include some top-tier ones. But the production capacity of the adjustable rear wing core is limited. Why should we provide one to you? Is it because those clubs can't afford what you can offer? Moreover, we would risk offending those big clubs. What do you think?" Su Chin's words struck home, leaving Su Lin speechless. However, he firmly believed that since Su Chun and James had brought him here, there must be room for negotiation. It was just a matter of whether the conditions were sufficient. So he said directly, "Please state your conditions. I will do my best to meet them." Su Chin nodded, glancing at Su Che, who was standing obediently with Feng He. "There are conditions. First, we can only offer you the first-generation adjustable rear wing core, priced at 1 million each, with a uniform quality of blue." Upon hearing this, James's expression changed. Only he knew how low the cost of a blue-quality adjustable rear wing core was. The so-called first-generation core was the one he had come up with himself, which had usage limits. It didn't require many data nodes and matrices, so the production difficulty was significantly reduced. Generally, under good conditions, the cost of such a modification core could be controlled to around 100,000. If Su Chun were to handle it, with his terrifying success rate, the cost would be even lower. Yet at this moment, Su Chun was quoting a tenfold price difference. "Mr. Su Chun, since there is a first generation, there must be a second and third generation, right?" Before Su Lin could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Su Chun. "Because you can't afford the conditions, nor can you buy it. Do you have the resources of a top club like Glory Star? If not, don't even think about it. Just use the first generation honestly, or leave now and give up the idea of purchasing the core. Su Lin was left speechless, his face pale from Su Chen's sharp words. Su Che stood by, dumbfounded at this scene. The usually arrogant Su Lin was surprisingly unable to show any temper at this moment. It was the first time he saw Su Lin in such an awkward position, and he felt it was quite absurd. This is the first condition. Su Chen raised a finger, and there's a second condition. Master James greatly appreciates Su Che and Feng He as a pair of players. We require that Su Che and Feng He sever all contractual ties with the Xingguan Club. As long as you can accept both Condition 1 and Condition 2, we can discuss further. Su Chun lifted his chin, staring coldly at Su Lin, with an arrogant and indifferent demeanor. Otherwise, there's nothing to talk about. Su Lin was under immense pressure, starting to sweat. A price of 1 million each was barely acceptable. The first condition was understandable. The core modification of the adjustable tail wing was fine as long as it was an adjustable tail wing modification core. But for the second condition, did it mean that Su Che had to leave the club? Yes. Su Chen nodded. Then he would have no club in the future? Su Lin hesitated, not wanting Su Che to leave, as it seemed there was still considerable value to extract from him. He had to weigh whether Su Che's departure would result in a loss to the club that could offset the conditions Su Chun was offering. You don't need to worry about the club. We have the technology for adjustable tail wing modifications. It would be easy to place him in any club. Su Chun was impenetrable. Even if the other party suspected he might be planning to build a club, he would never admit it. After all, the land provided by Peak Future was for a footbath center, and the future construction direction would at least superficially appear to be a footbath center. This Su Che is my brother, my own brother. I can't just let him leave the club. Su Chen looked at Su Lin's pretended difficulty and sneered inwardly. Stop wasting words. You can only choose to accept my conditions or not. You have no power to negotiate with me. Su Lin was once again stung by his words. Having no way to respond, James stood by silently, wearing a gloomy expression of tacit approval. At a loss, Su Lin glanced at Su Che, who was lowering his head, seemingly deep in thought. After weighing it in his heart, he finally nodded and said, "All right, then let's do as you said. I can transfer the contracts of Su Che and Feng He now. They will no longer be part of the club. And will the adjustable wing modification core be available immediately?" Upon hearing this, Su Che, who was standing alone, swayed slightly and nearly fell against Feng He for support. Su Chen observed this scene but remained silent with a cold expression. He was helping Su Che and Feng He escape their predicament. Perhaps Su Che still felt some dependency and emotion towards the club. However, Su Lin had completely disregarded Su Che as a person. So it was best to cut ties early. The production of the adjustable wing modification core was challenging. James said, "It's impossible to provide the goods immediately. You will receive the first generation of the adjustable wing modification core in 3 days. At that time, payment will be exchanged for delivery, and subsequently, you will receive one for your team each week." Ignoring Su Lin's displeased expression, James continued, "This is the speed of delivery. It can't be faster. If you have any objections, you can buy the adjustable wing modification core elsewhere." No objections. Su Lin forced a dry smile. He had never been in such a frustrating position, having to consider the seller's mood when making a purchase. Was the consumer really supposed to feel like a subordinate? Despite feeling resentful, Su Lin dared not say anything. James monopolized the technology for the adjustable wing modification core, and as long as no other modifiers achieved a breakthrough, he could act as he pleased. In fact, James had created many semi-finished products during his own research, which were the initial cores that Su Chen referred to. He deliberately kept Su Lin in suspense, while also transmitting a message to the outside world that the adjustable wing modification core was not easy to produce. Even as the inventor, creating one required a significant amount of time. This was not only a protection for himself and Su Chun, but also provided some emotional value to the buyers, making them feel that the core they purchased was a treasure, rather than something that could be easily produced. The contract transfer process went very smoothly. Since Su Che had signed with the company, he had no autonomy in choosing, and Su Lin could sell him to whoever he wanted. At the same time, Feng He's contract was completely severed from the club, but it was not fully tied to Su Che. Instead, it was sold to Su Chun and James. Su Che and Feng He were now essentially private players under Su Chun and James. Su Che, I will have someone deliver your belongings to you. From now on, work well with Master Su Chun and Master James, Su Lin said insincerely, patting Su Che's shoulder and pretending to be sorrowful. I have no choice. For the development of the club, I can only resort to such measures. If you miss your brother, you can come back to the club to visit. Of course, I believe you will have better development in other clubs in the future. Good luck. I believe in you. Such words of encouragement were the first Su Che had ever heard from Su Lin, and they were directed at him. Ironically, Su Lin uttered them in such a situation. Su Che looked at his older brother, who bore a 4/10 resemblance to him, with only unfamiliarity and sorrow in his eyes. "Mr. Su Chun, Master James, it's quite late. so I won't disturb you any longer. Su Lin ignored Su Che's gaze, or rather, he simply didn't care how Su Che viewed him. Weighing the situation, trading Su Che for the core modification of the elevating tail wing was incredibly worthwhile, essentially giving the Xingguan club a chance to compete in the national qualifiers. The T1 team he led might really make it to the national competition. Su Lin left with good wishes and ambitions for the future. In the hall, everyone was looking at Su Che. Li Yini and Yu Ming had already faintly guessed how Su Chun would arrange Su Che and Feng He. With Su Che added, the club now had 5 players. The league association required each team to have a substitute position, meaning they only needed to recruit one more player to meet the league's requirements. As for substitutes, if Su Chun didn't have high demands, they could find someone easily, though it would be somewhat irresponsible. Mr. Su Chun, Master James, Su Che said with a wry smile, I no longer have a club. Can you tell me which club you plan to arrange for me? Rest assured, no matter which club I go to, I will strive to achieve good results and won't embarrass you. At that moment, Su Che was no longer the spirited person he used to be. He was clearly like a little dog carelessly discarded by the roadside. Now, being picked up by Su Chun and James, he worried about his future fate and whether he would be abandoned again. Hence, he immediately wagged his tail to please them, assuring that he would perform well in the future. Chapter 252. The team name we're planning to establish a club, and you and Feng, he will be our teammates. Su Chun stated directly, ignoring Su Che's gradually shocked expression. You will directly be a member of T1 in our team. Master James is our chief modifier, and Gino is the head coach. You should be familiar with both of them. And your future 3 teammates, Li Yini, Yu Ming, and Huang Shixuan, as well as myself. You should recognize, right? Are you saying that in the new team, all of you will be my teammates? Su Che's eyes widened. Aside from Yu Ming, who was a bit of a troublemaker, everyone standing before him was someone he admired. Li Yini, a 4-time champion of the provincial qualifiers, might have already been competing in the national qualifiers if it weren't for the Northern Wolves T2 team not having enough points. Huang Shixuan, whom he hadn't heard of before, had recently put a lot of pressure on him during matches. As for Su Chun, his extraordinary imagination and skilled driving were something Su Che could only look up to. When Su Lin threw him into the T3 team of the Xingguan club, it felt like being left to fend for himself. He held the title of chief, but lacked the treatment that came with it. No resources, no funding, and no connections. To expand T3, he had to recruit players himself. But to recruit players, he needed to make a name for himself. And how could he do that without the club's resources? This is simply a deadlock. Yet he has to bear it alone. Who doesn't long for teammates? While others are encouraging each other before the match, he can only sit alone on a bench. Su Che has imagined countless times what it would be like to face the competition with teammates. Winning the match means celebrating together, and losing doesn't bring despair. They would tackle issues in the conference room, with everyone sharing their opinions, reviewing mistakes made in the match, and summarizing experiences for the next competition. Crying together, laughing together, improving together. Unexpectedly, the team he has long sought is about to be formed at this moment? Indeed, but before the club is established, you need to sign this agreement first. Su Chun pushed the Uranus agreement in front of Su Che and Feng He. Su Che opened the agreement. Looking at the straightforward and harsh terms inside, his expression was quite remarkable. He cautiously glanced at Su Chun, who was smiling back at him. After exchanging a few glances, Su Chun asked, so is there any problem? Su Che weakly replied, no problem. I think this contract is very, very reasonable. As long as you think it's reasonable. That's good. Our team emphasizes humanized management, and we will never force our members. We also listen to their opinions. Su Chun said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, of course, loyalty is the most important thing for the team. As the captain and club owner, I don't like to see anyone who is disloyal. Therefore, a strict contract is the best constraint. If you don't breach the contract, I will be a good captain and a good owner. If you do breach it, I won't mind showing some severe measures. Since there's no problem, let's sign. What a humanized management approach. Su Che thought to himself, but still honestly signed the contract. The contract already had the names of James, Gino, Li Yini, and Yu Ming. Since everyone trusted Su Chun as the owner, what difference would it make if he signed too? Seeing Su Che obediently sign, Su Chun showed a satisfied smile. Once this signature is made, he will truly be one of us. Indeed, before signing the Uranus agreement, Li Yini, James, and others had their hesitations. However, they ultimately believed in Su Chun's character. Moreover, this seemingly harsh agreement is, in a sense, merely a constraint on the loyalty of club members. As long as they are loyal to the club, the Uranus agreement is much more lenient and generous compared to those of other clubs. With no hidden exploitative policies at all, Huang Shixuan has not signed yet. It's not that he is unwilling, rather, out of principle. He believes that his bet with Su Chun has not yet been completed, as the provincial qualifiers are only in the second round, meaning he cannot be considered a formal member of the club, perhaps out of stubbornness or a spirit of resistance. Huang Shixuan is determined to complete the bet. By then, he will be able to sign the Uranus agreement without any qualms. Now, the question arises. After the interruption with Su Chen finally brought up the most important topic of the day. What should we name our club and team? Poseidon Club. Yuming blurted out. Torpedo Fleet. Hee hee. The others responded. Sorry, my master is a bit silly. Chasing Shadow tightly locked Yuming in his arms, chuckling awkwardly while covering Yuming's mouth. Just treat what he said as nonsense. Meow? How about calling it the Cat Club instead? Xingming raised her hand. Isn't that a bit too cute? Queen chuckled helplessly. Patting Xingming's head, the names for the club and the fleet should have a bit more intimidation factor. Then Xingming frowned in thought, and suddenly her eyes lit up. The club will be called the King Cat Club, and the fleet will be called the Spiny Back Dragon Fleet. I'm really a genius, Meow. Queen replied. What kind of spiny back dragon fleet is that? She might as well call it the Tyrannosaurus Fleet. What about the Starry Club? Proposed Li Yini. How about the Speeding Club? Taken from speeding like the wind, Huang Shixuan also suggested. Su Che quietly observed the lively discussion among everyone. He had just joined and was still a newcomer, timid and obedient, not daring to interject. Does Master James have any thoughts? Su Chen felt that these club and fleet names weren't quite right. However, he himself was terrible at naming things and couldn't help but frown, feeling a headache coming on. If he were good at naming, there wouldn't have been a meeting after today's dinner. James scanned the crowd, lost in thought. After a while, the wrinkles on his face smoothed out, and he said lightly, Our fleet members come from the Northern Wolves, the Voice of the Night, and the Star Crown Club. The reason we are gathered here is that we have all faced unfair treatment, either being overlooked, suppressed, or unable to see a future. You chose not to settle for the status quo, but to rise anew. And now, the former clubs have become our future opponents. You have transformed from hunters into the prey in the eyes of these clubs and fleets. But are you really prey? Looking at the burning gazes of the crowd, a smile curved at the corner of James's mouth. You are not prey, you are hunters, and they are the prey. You possess brave hearts, the spirit to take risks, and the ambition to break free from your comfort zones and rise again. That is the true essence of a hunter. So, how about naming the Fleet Hunting Patrol? The crowd felt their blood boil with excitement. Even Su Chen felt a tingle at the back of his head. He hurriedly asked, Then, old James, what do you think the club should be called? Su Chen believed that since James had given such a meaningful name to the fleet, the club's name would surely be even more significant. James thought for a moment, a quirky smile appearing on his face. Rubbing his hands together, he said, Well, since I funded the club's construction, how about we call it the James Happy Club? Everyone, Su Chen, get lost. How about calling it Dawn instead? Just as everyone was deep in thought, the usually quiet Kino suddenly suggested a name. We have all experienced a dark past and are eagerly looking forward to the arrival of dawn, so I think the name Dawn is very suitable for the club. Similarly, the name Hunt proposed by Master James is also fitting for the team, both carrying significant symbolic meaning. This name is great. Su Chen nodded in agreement immediately, noting that our main enemy and opponent is the Voice of the Night, and Dawn is just the opposite of it. If we name it Light of Dawn, it might feel a bit redundant, so it's better to simply use Dawn, which is concise and powerful. Since the boss has said so, the others naturally had no objections. Especially since the name Dawn for the club sounds really nice. With the main goal settled, Su Chen announced the secret establishment of the Dawn Club. Starting tomorrow, we will temporarily train at Gino's training ground. This foot massage center will not return before the association's inspection, giving everyone the illusion that they haven't purchased the land and can only make do at Gino's training ground, which will definitely allow those with ulterior motives to let their guard down. As for the Peak Future Club, even though Ferrati was the first to show goodwill by selling him the land, he still remained vigilant. Ferrati needed 11 complete lift-wing modification cores, all of purple quality. Undoubtedly, he wanted to equip all formal members in T1, T2, and T3, but Su Chen did not promise to provide him with all 11 cores immediately, only stating that the production capacity for lift-wing modification cores was limited and that he could provide a maximum of 5 cores before the next national preliminary competition, just enough to equip Ferrati's T1 team. As for the other lift-wing modification cores, Su Chen planned the timing carefully and would deliver them gradually, ultimately holding them back until after the provincial competition registration and the association's review. On the day the association approved the Dawn Club, the last batch of lift-wing modification cores would be delivered to the headquarters of Peak Future Group. It's not that Su Chen has dark thoughts. It's mainly because he has stumbled into many pitfalls in his past life. In this world dominated by a powerful financial group, he cannot afford to be careless. Now he is the club owner and the captain, and all his decisions affect the entire team. His responsibilities require him to be cautious. Su Che, stay for a moment. Su Chen called to the somewhat confused but still following boy. Su Che paused, hesitantly looking at Su Chen, who seemed only a few years older than him. Boss, you're not blaming me for leaving the Star Crown Club, are you? Su Chen gestured for Su Che to sit beside him. That's not the case. Su Che chuckled bitterly. Actually, I wasn't valued much at the Star Crown Club, received no resources, and had no teammates. My only connection to the Star Crown Club is that it used to be my father's enterprise, now managed solely by my brother Su Lin, and that's it. So my sense of belonging to the Star Crown Club is very limited. I just simply love racing and want to shine on this path. That's good. Su Chen patted Su Che's shoulder. I can't promise anything else, but since you've joined the Dawn Club, you will definitely have ample resources. You want to participate in the 3rd provincial preliminary competition, right? Yes, Su Che nodded. The first phase of the provincial preliminary rounds registration list has been released, and there is a player from the Xingguan Club T2 team. Su Chen shared the information he already knew while observing Su Che's expression. This player is the only one from the Xingguan Club T2 team who has not met the points requirement, while the other team members have already qualified in the first half of the year. This means that as long as he doesn't meet the points requirement in the subsequent preliminary matches and fails to secure a top 3 position, the Xingguan Club T2 will not be able to participate in the provincial competition in the second half of the year. Su Che listened intently, and a melancholic figure of a man flashed through his mind. Zhang Hao, a member of the Xingguan Club T2 team. He is someone who relies entirely on the performance of the machine girl, with average skills. Initially, he had aimed to help the team by sacrificing his position as the chief of T3 to join T2 as an ordinary member, thinking that Su Lin would definitely agree to this request. However, he was rejected. Su Lin accused him of being jealous of others, saying that he wanted to join T2 despite not having enough points. He even called him out in a company meeting in front of all the drivers, questioning his qualifications. But if it weren't for Zhang Hao, the Xingguan Club T2 could have participated in the provincial competition in the first half of the year. Yet they had to wait an additional 6 months because of him. Su Che used to think that he didn't understand Zhang Hao well enough. Or perhaps Zhang Hao brought some benefits to Su Lin, which is why Su Lin was unwilling to give him up. Now he finally understood. Did Su Lin not know that Zhang Hao was useless? Of course he knew. Su Lin just didn't want to give his brother any opportunity. So even if Zhang Hao was a liability in T2, Su Lin could endure it. The members of Xingguan T2 seemed to have been numbed by Su Lin and never stood up to say a word for him. At this moment, he had long lost hope and could no longer regard these drivers as seniors. From now on, they could only be enemies. The racecourse is a battlefield, and when facing the enemy, one must draw their sword. I understand your meaning, Captain. Su Che took a deep breath, his eyes cold and determined. Rest assured, I will not disappoint you in this 3rd round of the provincial preliminary competition. I will definitely take down that player from Xingguan T2 and not give him a chance to compete for a top 3 position. A smile of relief appeared on Su Chen's face, but he shook his head. This isn't about whether I would be disappointed or not. This is a declaration of war against the Xingguan Club. Your brother Su Lin makes things difficult for you, suppresses you, and doesn't give you a chance to shine. So now at dawn, you should show your fangs and fiercely bite your enemies, making them realize that losing you is their loss. And you are never the worthless coward they thought. To quote James, right now, you are the hunter, they are the prey. Yes. Su Che raised his head and stood tall. No one had ever spoken such passionate words to him, nor had anyone encouraged him like this. At this moment, it felt as if fresh blood was injected into his heart, and he felt alive again. The abandoned disappointment, the feeling of being denied, and the confusion in a strange environment all vanished in an instant. This is for you. Su Chen handed a purple core to Su Che. Looking at the purple core, Su Che felt a faint excitement in his heart. The modification core for the adjustable tail wing was crafted by me. For the team members who have already signed the agreement. Su Chen had nothing to hide and stated directly. The adjustable tail wing modification core made by James will significantly reduce the basic performance of the mech. Moreover, the core you have has a limited number of uses. However, the adjustable tail wing modification core I created will overall enhance the mech's basic performance. And there are no usage limits. There are also some things Su Chen didn't mention. That is the special effects, which James cannot see. Only the creator of this modification core can see them. As for what the special effects are, it will be left for Su Che to experience himself. Su Che stared blankly at Su Chen, and the chaotic thoughts in his mind suddenly became clear at that moment. So, you are the original creator of this core. You, that's right. Su Chen smiled slightly, congratulating him on choosing a path to greatness. From here on, everything will depend on effort and time. Before this, Su Che had never thought about revenge, as no one was obligated to stand up for him. But now, standing in front of Su Chen, he felt a surge of killing intent in his heart. His revenge was about to begin. Chapter 254. Under Panlong Mountain. One of the most famous racing tracks in the region a century ago. Su Chen stood at the visitor center at the foot of the mountain, gazing at the continuous mountain range in awe. From the foot of the mountain, he could already see the winding track, with numerous challenging curves visible to the naked eye. No wonder it was named Panlong. However, what about the Star Secret Realm? Suchin looked around. The star's secret realm was indeed about to open. As the crowd of tourists was no longer predominantly ordinary people, but mostly drivers and mechs. There were also many foreign racers, identifiable by the team logos on their uniforms. The team logos of racers from the region all had a unified national symbol, and the same went for racers from other regions, making it easy to distinguish. Clearly, the output of the star's secret realm at Panlong Mountain was attractive to racers worldwide. However, after looking for a long time, Suchun did not see any doors resembling a dungeon entrance. In his imagination, it should be a somewhat sci-fi and mystical door, like a vortex, where entering would feel like returning to a century ago. But there was none. The track went straight up, and the old track lights along the roadside were dimly lit. Looking rather ordinary, Suchin arrived at Panlong Mountain at 6 in the evening. The star's secret realm had always opened promptly at 9 o'clock in the evening. As the sunlight began to fade and night fell, the time for the opening of the star's secret realm drew closer. He estimated that he would have to wait until then for the Panlong Mountain track to show noticeable changes. So, who among you two wants to give this star's secret realm a try today? Suchin glanced at the bustling departure point and turned to ask the two machine girls beside him. Queen shot a sidelong glance at Suchun and said with a feigned smile, "What does the master think? Who would you prefer to drive with today? We're just machine girls. We have no power to influence the master's choice." Suchin had become immune to Queen's increasingly familiar way of speaking and replied calmly, "I checked the information. It's about whether one can obtain the holy mark in the Star Mystery Realm. Many drivers and machine girls have run first in the Star Mystery Realm throughout history, but none of them have obtained the Star Mark. Instead, some lesser-known characters have received it. So today's race isn't about whether you or Xingming is more suitable for the Panlong Mountain track. Let's just treat it as an experience and enjoy the ride. Anyone can take a turn." Queen and Xingming exchanged glances. It was their first time participating in the Star Mystery Realm, and they weren't quite clear on the rules. Since Suchin said so, let Xingming take the lead. Queen crossed her arms and said lightly, "The terrain of Panlong Mountain is very suitable for Xingming. I would feel constrained if I were to race." "Meow? Actually, Queen's sister really wants to go, right?" Xingming said, inching closer to Queen and squinting at her. It was clear that the anticipation and desire in Queen's eyes were about to overflow. Xingming was very sensitive to emotions. "Meow? I don't." Queen's face flushed slightly as she turned her head away. "Master, let Queen's sister take the lead. I just finished the provincial qualifiers, and I'm feeling a bit off. I'm quite tired." Xingming tugged at Suchin's hand and pouted. "I don't want to race anymore. I want to rest for a while. Okay, meow?" Suchin glanced at Xingming's condition. Although it wasn't the peak state of being full of energy, it was still a good condition that could support a race. However, since Xingming said so, "Queen, you'll race with me." Suchin looked at the black-haired, straight-haired machine girl standing aside, counting ants. "Huh." Queen frowned. "Didn't I say this track isn't very suitable? I need you." Before Queen could finish, Suchin directly interrupted her. "Today, you're racing with me on Panlong Mountain. I need your help." As soon as he said this, the sharpness in Queen's eyes visibly softened, like the light swirling in a wine glass. "Fine." She let out a soft huff, tossed her hair back, and said nonchalantly, "Since you put it that way, as a machine girl, I can't disobey the master's command. I'll reluctantly help you out this time, you little fish." Seeing Queen's slightly raised lips, Suchin knew she was in a good mood. He chose to remain silent about it. "Yay, I can see Queen's sister racing on the track again, meow." Xingming cheered excitedly. Suchin knew that Xingming also wanted to try the Star Mystery Realm. Her not feeling well was only part of the reason, while the bigger part was wanting to give the opportunity to Queen. What a considerate cat girl. Suchin patted Xingming's head, pondering that he must reward Xingming with some affectionate time like an octopus tonight. No, it's already late after the competition. The head coach and general manager of the club had already booked a hot spring hotel for him near Panlong Mountain. How about rewarding Xingming with a hot spring bath together? Hee. In the crowd, Suchin spotted a familiar figure. It was Ayano, the captain of the Night Voice Group's Yi-Ti team, along with his machine girl, Yi-Ti. As his gaze fell on Yi-Ti, his divine eye activated almost instantly. Status: average, slight memory loss. The status of Yi-Ti made Suchin's pupils constrict slightly. He recalled that during the second provincial qualifiers, Yi-Ti's status was only good due to participating in consecutive competitions, but it definitely did not have the serious negative status of slight memory loss. Taking another look at Yi-Ti's various performances, Suchin had a rough idea. When he entered the second provincial qualifiers, he had seen Yi-Ti's performance panel, which showed speed, 82, cornering, 63, stability, 69, burst, 84, endurance, 60. This time, however, Yi-Ti's performance had changed significantly. Speed, 79, cornering, 70, stability, 73, burst, 77, endurance, 63. It was clear that Yi-Ti's performance had become much more balanced. The previously high burst and high speed were significantly reduced. while the other performance metrics that were once weaknesses had improved noticeably. On the surface, Yi-Ti now seemed more versatile and adaptable to various tracks. However, Su-chun, who was familiar with the operations of the Night Voice Group, knew that Yi-Ti must have undergone violent modifications similar to Queen's. Perhaps it was a bit milder than what Queen experienced, but it still couldn't escape the fact that it harmed the machine girl. Su-chun never believed that a machine girl's weaknesses should go unaddressed, but only under the condition that their strengths and talents were not severely diminished, and that the process was safe. Yet, the Night Voice Group, or many top groups in this world, did not prioritize the safety of machine girl modifications. They only pursued the ultimate results, aiming to calibrate machine girls for better operation by drivers. It seemed this kid Henti absorbed a word of advice. Frowning, Su-chun's gaze at Ayano's back was filled with an unprecedented coldness and disdain. Chapter 255, Reminder Master, is that machine girl pretty? A gentle voice, accompanied by the sweet scent of chocolate, appeared in Su-chun's ear. Yi-Ti had a great figure, with curves in all the right places, and her tight black racing suit accentuated her elegant lines. Su-chun was an honest person and instinctively nodded. Pretty. Humph, scumbag. Queen flicked her hair in Su-chun's face, pulling Xingming's hand and turning to leave. Let's go, go, go. Don't stay with that vile man for too long. There's still some time before 9 o'clock. Let's go for a stroll nearby. But I want to be with Moss. No way. Boo-hoo, Star Dream has been taken away by Queen. Su-chun sighed helplessly. Is it really that hard to be an honest person? The world is too harsh on those who are sincere. Hey, that red-haired curly one. Su-chun called out to Ayano ahead. Hearing the familiar voice, Ayano instinctively turned around and was surprised to see Su-chun. Mr. Su-chun, I didn't expect to see you here. Are you also here for the Star Mystic Realm? What a coincidence. To Ayano, Su-chun is a powerful and respected opponent. He desires to be friends with such a rival. Even if they can't become friends, he would still greet him warmly when they meet. He has never been stingy with kindness towards those he admires and respects. However, the look in Su-chun's eyes seemed unfriendly, which made Ayano's smile stiffen a bit. Su-chun walked up to Ayano. Night Hoof immediately stepped in front of Ayano, wary of this unfriendly newcomer. This scene only intensified the coldness in Su-chun's gaze. Your machine girl treats you well, and even knows how to protect you? He sneered at Ayano. But what have you done to her? You wouldn't just let the Night Voice Group modify her, would you? Is your frustration and arrogance really because you only got second place in the provincial qualifiers? Su-chun didn't want to meddle, but he couldn't bear to see a good machine girl being ruined. He also couldn't stand to see Ayano, a seemingly decent driver, sinking into the quagmire of the Night Voice Group. Mr. Su-chun, I don't know what you're talking about. Ayano replied sincerely. Nighthoof did indeed accept modifications from the Night team, but this was a well-considered choice made by me and Nighthoof. Mr. Sheen also informed us about the side effects of the modifications, which will gradually disappear over time. Everything will be kept within a safe range. Our club's other drivers are just ignorant fools. Su-chun coldly interrupted Ayano. This made Ayano's complexion gradually pale and grow more unpleasant. What did you say? I said you are a fool. Su-chun coldly stared at Ayano. You believe everything others say, and whatever they deem good, you think is good too. Don't you have any discernment? Mr. Su-chun, even if you are an excellent driver and I admire your skills, you shouldn't insult my character so casually. Ayano was genuinely angry. Who starts off like this? He thought he was being polite enough to Su-chun. Should he kneel before Su-chun? He wasn't a masochist. Don't let the Night team modify Night Hoof anymore. Su-chun was not being mysterious at all, even though there was another driver from the Night Voice beside Ayano. He spoke plainly. If you keep listening to Qin Xian's advice and continue down this wrong path, Night Hoof will run into problems, and you will definitely regret it. After saying that, Su-chun stepped aside and moved forward. In the crowd, he spotted Queen and Xingming. Surprisingly, they had gone to a clothing store. Now that he had money, Queen and Xingming could freely change their racing outfits, which was always a treat for him. This opportunity was definitely not to be missed. As for Ayano, he had said what needed to be said. If Ayano still couldn't see through it, then he could just wait for regret to come. Ayano sighed, feeling that Su-chun was quite rude. His good mood for the day was completely ruined by being called a stupid pig by Su-chun. It seemed that Su-chun had always been hostile towards him, even though Ayano really wanted to befriend this driver. Wasn't that the one who came first in the last provincial preliminary competition? A hoarse voice came from the side, and Ayano saw the butcher from the Nightmare team staring at Su-chun's departing figure. The butcher was sent by Qin Xian to bring him to the Star Mystery Realm as a T2 team member, and he hadn't been told his real name. He was simply referred to by his title. At first, Ayano felt it was a bit strange, but he got used to it after calling him that a few times. Yes, it was Big Brother Butcher. Even after being called a stupid pig, when it came to Su-chun, Ayano still held admiration. He has a lot of imagination and a spirit of adventure, and he also has impressive driving skills. He's still so young. Give him a few more years, and he will definitely be a seed for a world champion. World champion? The middle-aged man's cold laughter was full of disdain. Becoming a world champion is not just about having a bit of imagination and a spirit of adventure. Otherwise, everyone in the world would be a champion. As for his skills, having watched the footage, it was just average. I'll also be participating in this star mystery realm, and I want to see what his skills can do in front of me and Fury. Fury was the butcher's machine girl. She was tall and had waist-length fiery hair, but looked exceptionally cold. Big Brother Butcher, will the modification plan of the night team really have any side effects? I see Su-chun keeps emphasizing this, and you know, Queen's incident is related to Su-chun. Ayano was still troubled by what Su-chun had said. More than anything, it was respect for Su-chun. He felt that such a formidable driver wouldn't create trouble for no reason. But sometimes, he also felt that Su-chun's negative attitude towards the night voice was due to Queen's special case. Don't listen to his nonsense. The butcher patted Ayano's shoulder and pointed at Fury with a smile. Look at Fury. She was modified by the night team. Does she have any problems? Ayano instinctively looked at the expressionless Fury. Fury's eyes were a fiery red. They should have been sharp and piercing, yet they exuded a sense of deadpan indifference. It was hard to describe the feeling. Some people clearly had a passionate personality, while others seemed to be distant and unapproachable. Fury gives the impression of a passionate mech girl, yet her entire aura constantly drives people away. These two completely opposite traits intertwine at this moment, leaving Ayano with a very dissonant feeling. However, he can't quite articulate it. After all, who says a mech girl can't be a little reserved? I'm asking you a question. Fury, don't keep a straight face, smile a bit. Hearing the butcher's words, Fury's indifference remains, but she offers Ayano a sweet smile. In a gentle voice, she says, Mr. Ayano, you don't need to worry. I have accompanied my master through many competitions, and at least from my perspective, the modifications of the night team are very authoritative. Oh really? Thank you. Ayano scratches his head and exchanges a glance with the night hoof beside him. It seems I was overthinking it. Chapter 256, Star Goddess Secret Realm Star Dream and Queen enjoy trying on racing outfits, but most of the time, they don't actually buy them. Even though Su-chun is quite wealthy now. When Su-chun arrives at the store, Star Dream is nearby, marveling and making little cat sounds. While Queen has already changed into an outfit. It's a racing suit similar to the one Night Hoof wears. Tight-fitting to the point of accentuating every curve of her body. At this moment, Su-chun realizes that Queen, wearing a suit similar to Night Hoof's, does not fall short in terms of figure. In fact, in some aspects, she completely surpasses Night Hoof. Her hips are more curvy, her proportions more perfect, and her waist-to-hip ratio more alluring. Plus, her figure is taller than Night Hoof's, with long, slender legs that are not sickly thin, but rather slightly plump without being excessive. Su-chun can't quite describe it, but it's the kind of physique that only naturally beautiful girls who maintain regular exercise can have. His nose starts to itch, a sign of a potential nosebleed. With the dry weather lately, he quickly looks up to avoid a rupture. How does it look? A voice rings in his ears. Su-chun initially thinks Queen is asking Star Dream, but then he catches the scent of liqueur chocolates from Queen, who is now right beside him. He looks down to see Queen has pulled Star Dream over and is staring at him with her wine-red eyes, unblinking. It looks good, Su-chun replies sincerely. Is it better than Night Hoof? Queen continues to ask. Of course, anyone with normal intelligence knows how to answer at this point, and besides, it's the truth. I have what Night Hoof has Queen Huff's. From now on, you're not allowed to look at other mech girls. You can only look at me and Star Dream. If you want something, just say it. We're not incapable of satisfying you. After that, she pinches Star Dream's soft face. Isn't that right, Star Dream? Right, meow? Star Dream raises her shopping bag. I bought some too, meow? But it was so expensive, meow? Even now, Star Dream feels a bit pained buying these racing outfits. Having been used to saving money in the past, she finds it's not as easy to transition from frugality to extravagance. She always feared that one day Su-chun might run out of money, and at that time, she could still take out her little savings to help him make a comeback. But Sister Queen said that Su-chun liked this style of car cover. And once he wore it, he would like it even more. Although she was reluctant to spend that money, in order to gain more affection, Xingming gritted her teeth and chose the cheapest one to splurge a bit. Oh, so you came with Xingming to buy the car cover because of Night Hoof? Su-chun said knowingly. Humph, Queen sneered. I just don't want some random driver to get beaten up by another driver under the pretext of sexual harassment because he was staring at someone else's machine girl. At that time, neither Xingming nor I will step in to help. How embarrassing. Xingming grabbed Queen's hand and said weakly, But if Masta really gets beaten up, we can't just stand by and watch, right, meow? Queen raised her eyebrows and pinched Xingming's face. I said no means no. Who are you hanging out with? With Masta, meow, Xingming replied. Are you trying to drive me crazy? You silly cat. Su-chun watched this scene with delight. Indeed, the best way to resolve internal conflicts is to turn them into external ones. But this is only applicable in this world, and good men should not learn from this. It's quite unscrupulous. Dong, dong, dong. The melodious bell rang in the square at the foot of Panlong Mountain. It was only at this moment that Suchin noticed that, unknowingly, it was already 9 o'clock in the evening. The bell tower, standing in the center of the square and obviously many years old, was still functioning normally, and the ringing sounded very pure. As the 3 chimes fell, the crowd in the square began to surge toward the starting point of the Panlong Mountain racing track. Seeing this, Suchin also followed Queen and Xingming to join the crowd. The starting point of the racing track on Panlong Mountain had already been cordoned off by the staff. Even though there were many trees around the square, the wide racing track at this moment had not a single leaf. And the pavement looked as if it had just been cleaned, the asphalt gleaming coldly under the streetlights. What is everyone waiting for? Just as Suchin was feeling puzzled, in the high sky, the clouds seemed to part, revealing a vast sea of stars